Chapter 6018. Do you think that Senior Li Lin has been greatly stimulated? Fire Phoenix tilted her head slightly and whispered to Li Zaixiang in a voice that she could barely hear. She stretched out her index finger and made 2 circles around her temple. Li Zaixiang didn't have time to answer. Suddenly, a knuckle knocked heavily on Fire Phoenix's forehead. This stir-fried chestnut was absolutely sour. Fire Phoenix, who had a strong body, couldn't help but cry out in pain. Even tears were about to fall. Little Fire Phoenix, do you think that I, an old man, am deaf and can't hear what you're talking about? Let me tell you, even if you are thinking in your heart, I can still hear it clearly. Li Lin retracted his knuckle and boasted shamelessly. Fire Phoenix rubbed her forehead and thought that it would be strange if he could know what I was thinking. As soon as she finished thinking, another knuckle knocked on her forehead. Fire Phoenix, who was a super expert of the Earth opening stage, was almost beaten silly. What the hell was going on? I already said that I know what you were thinking in your heart. Do you still dare to doubt it? Li Lin blew his beard and glared at her. He had an expression that said that he had completely seen through her. Fire Phoenix really wanted to cry, but had no tears. This ancestor was simply looking for an excuse to beat her. Although she was right, it was absolutely a fluke. Ancestor, now is not the time to talk about this, right? Li Zaixiang really couldn't stand it anymore. His brother was considered honest. Being teased by the ancestor, he didn't lose his temper. If it were someone else, it was estimated that he would have already lost his temper. That's right. Let's solve the matter here first. Li Lin nodded and looked up at the 2 sea beasts that had recovered their strength. Although the strength of these 2 guys had recovered, they still couldn't move. They just had a little more strength to struggle. But it was no use. An ant turned into a bug. When it was pinched in the hand, there was actually no difference. I originally wanted to tell you a few words about this old man's life experience. Unfortunately, I am in a hurry now. I can only omit 10,000 words here and go straight to the point. In the future, remember not to be a sea beast. Li Lin raised and retracted his hands, and the 2 sea beasts that had regained their Earth opening stage strength exploded at the same time. Whether they regained their strength or not, it didn't seem to have any effect on this skinny old man. All right, the matter here is settled. Let's continue our conversation, shall we? Li Lin clapped his hands. From the looks of it, it would not be difficult for him to kill 3 Earth opening realm sea beasts. Fire Phoenix is speechless. Does she still want to talk about the topic just now? You haven't hit my head enough yet. Li is thinking, how do you feel now? Although this injury has been temporarily suppressed and won't take your life in a short period of time, it definitely won't do if you don't treat it quickly. If you delay it for another day or 2, you might really be finished. How do you think I can save you? What kind of elixir was needed? If you lack any medicinal materials, just tell me. As your brother, I will go to heaven and dive into the sea to help you find all the things you need. Don't be polite with me. If you are polite, I will be angry with you. We are brothers for a lifetime. Fire Phoenix pretended not to hear Li Lin's words and talked to Li Zaixiang unceasingly. The words he said in the past year are estimated to be less than the words he said in this paragraph. Li Zaixiang was also secretly amused. However, he and Fire Phoenix have long been accustomed to the strange character of the Li family. Naturally, they will not take it seriously. When Li Lin arrived at the warship, it was only a few miles away from the coastline. After killing the 3 sea beasts, it was more than half of the distance. In any case, the barrier outside had been destroyed, so he did not go out to see the situation. Li Zaixiang, do you understand what this old man said just now? In the distance, there was already a rapidly approaching waterline. It was the sea beast tide that had directly rushed in after destroying the barrier. Li Lin put away his playful expression and asked solemnly, while facing the sea with his back to Li Zaixiang. Li Zaixiang also put away his smile and nodded solemnly. Yes, old ancestor, we live in hardship and die in peace. The barrier passed down by our ancestors has protected us for too long, so that we can always enjoy peace. But in fact, it lacks enough threat, causing the inheritance of the Li family in the extreme north to deteriorate from generation to generation. It is not because our talent is not as good as that of the predecessors, but because the 2 comfortable days have obliterated our desire to improve. It is good that you understand. This time, if we can survive in the extreme North Island, you should know what to do. Take care of yourself. After Li Lin said that, his body emitted a soaring, imposing aura. Like a peerless divine weapon, he shed all the shackles, revealing his powerful edge in front of the enemy. The sea beast tide in the distance was also shocked by this powerful aura. But the waterline did not seem to have any intention of stopping, and continued to rush towards the extreme North Island. Li Lin let out a long roar and stepped out from the warship. His figure flashed and appeared hundreds of meters away. A wave surged up from the sea, supporting the soles of his feet. At the same time, he quickly rushed towards the sea beast tide. "Old ancestor," Li Zixiang roared. He simply had no time to say anything. He could only watch helplessly as Li Lin faced the sea beast tide alone. From Li Lin's words, he understood that this time, Li Lin was rushing towards the sea beast tide with the mentality of death. If Li Lin wanted to leave, the sea beast tide would not be able to stop him. But for the sake of the extreme North Island, for the inheritance of the Li family, this powerful old man of sea splitting stage resolutely took that step. If it was just some sea beast of earth opening stage, Li Lin might be able to come and go freely. But Li Zixiang vaguely felt that in this sea beast tide, there should be at least one sea beast of sea splitting stage, not counting the mysterious South Continent and East Continent. Even if it was just within the scope of the Heavenly Island, the number of super experts of sea splitting stage was not small. Those ancient families had their own trump cards. For example, Li Lin of the Li family. But he usually did not appear to intervene in anything and would only quietly cultivate in seclusion. This was because there was a guardian covenant of the ancient family. Experts of sea splitting stage and above, unless it was the survival of the family, absolutely could not easily make a move. This was also the reason why Li Lin did not appear at the beginning. It was only when the outer restriction was almost broken and Li Zixiang's life was hanging by a thread that he suddenly made a move. But for the sea beasts, the guardian covenant did not have the slightest binding force. The sea beasts of sea splitting stage were not willing to attack the major islands only because of the existence of the ancient restriction. If there were no internal problems in the extreme North Island, then even if there were a few sea beasts of sea splitting stage, it would not have any effect on the outer restriction. Chapter 6019. In the face of absolute strength, this kind of numerical advantage was almost useless. If one had to find a point, it would be that they could consume a lot of Li Lin's physical strength and chi. Since they couldn't hurt him, then they would exhaust him to death. This seemed to be a good tactic. Lin, he stood on the bridge of the ancient warship, staring at the battle scene in front of him with his divine sense. After the western restriction was completely broken, the northern restriction was also gradually collapsing. When the sea beasts confronting the ancient warship discovered this situation, they didn't attack the line of defense formed by the ancient warship and the 8 medium-sized warships. Instead, they turned to the west and gathered the rest of the sea beasts to launch the final attack. Amazing! This is the strength of the sea splitting stage. It's really too strong. Lenny couldn't help but sigh. In front of the real sea splitting stage, he was a genius who could fight above his rank, but he was still weaker than an ant. However, Lin didn't feel discouraged because of this. Instead, it inspired a stronger fighting spirit. He believed that one day, he would be stronger than this sea-splitting stage cultivator. This is the Li family's ancestor, Li Lin. Because of the Guardian Convention, he hasn't appeared for a long time. Those guys who schemed against the Northern Island probably didn't expect Li Lin to still be here, right? Okuda Ba smiled with some schadenfreude, obviously mocking those guys who colluded with the sea beasts for overestimating themselves. With a supermaster of the sea-splitting stage in charge, there were still people who dared to provoke them. They simply didn't know how to write the word death. It's just that people with such ability should know about the ancient families. Since that was the case, they still chose to make a move. This was a bit thought-provoking. Lin guessed that the mastermind behind this matter might be the center, but Okuda's state didn't know. Only a new force like the center wouldn't know about these so-called conventions. Brother Okuda, what is the Guardian Convention? Lin took advantage of the fact that the ancient warship hadn't entered the battlefield yet and seized the time to ask some things he didn't know. The Guardian Convention is actually an agreement between those super families. All the supermasters above the sea-splitting stage are prohibited from participating in various affairs. They can only take action when the family's life and death is at stake. This is to prevent sea-split stage experts from causing too much damage. After all, their destructive power is too great. Okuda didn't hide anything and explained it to Lin in detail. He also pointed in the direction of Li Lin's battle, using facts to prove how destructive the sea-splitting stage was. If someone violates the Guardian Pact, then the others can join forces to deal with him. We must use thunderous methods to suppress the battle to the smallest extent possible in order to reduce the destructive power of the sea-splitting stage. In addition, if you encounter a life and death situation where you have no choice but to make a move, you can also send out a distress signal. The participants of the Guardian Convention will definitely rush to your rescue. Okuda himself was a young master from a great family, so he was naturally clear about these matters. What if we can't save them in time? Lin looked at the battle situation in the distance and felt that it was almost hopeless to wait for the other family's sea-splitting stage experts to arrive. If we can't save them in time, then of course we will avenge them. Okuda showed a cold smile, and the ridicule on his face became more and more obvious. If Li family's ancestor Li Lin falls, the other participants of the Guardian Convention will definitely join forces to find the real culprit behind this matter. No matter who the culprit is, they will have to face the pursuit of a group of sea-splitting stage old farts. I think they'd better pray that nothing happens to Li Lin, otherwise no one will be able to save them. He suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. Li Lin was already powerful enough to overturn the seas. If there was a group of such characters, wouldn't the center be annihilated in minutes? If it was a black-bellied guy, maybe he would hope that Li Lin would die quickly, so as to lure a group of sea-splitting stage old monsters to find trouble with the center. However, he was not such a person. He only hoped that he could become stronger, far stronger than Li Lin, and then sweep the center. This was the mentality that a powerhouse should have. Moreover, in the end, the implementation of the Guardian Convention was also unknown. Lin did not believe that these sea-splitting stage old monsters did not have any conflicts with each other and would really work together to investigate the real culprit. In case someone slacked off, it was estimated that the final result would be inconclusive. While the two were talking, the sea beast tide suddenly erupted with an imposing aura that was not weaker than Li Lin's. Sure enough, there was a sea-splitting stage seahorse among them, and when Li Lin was fighting, it suddenly launched an attack. The sea beast tide temporarily stopped advancing because of this earth-shattering battle. The sea beast below the mountain opening stage all fled. The aftermath of this level of battle, even if it was just a little bit, was enough to tear their strong bodies apart. Even a mountain opening stage, sea beasts did not dare to get too close, let alone intervene. Only those earth opening stage sea beasts could barely surround Li Lin and make some harassing attacks. As long as they could disturb him, they could create enough opportunities for the sea-splitting stage seahorse. Brother Okuda, how is the current energy situation of the ancient battleship? Lin Yi's eyes narrowed. He had already decided to help Li Lin. At this time, in the entire extreme North Island, perhaps only this ancient battleship could help in the battle. Not bad. On the way here, I collected the spirit jades from the few medium-sized battleships. Anyway, they can't help much. It's better to leave them to us to fight. Now the energy reserves are about 80% of the peak. Okuda knew what Lin meant. Anyway, he had taken so many risks before, it did not matter if he took one more risk. Lin nodded slightly. 80% of the energy should be enough. The problem now was how to quickly enter the battle circle of those two terrifying monsters. Senior Ghost, you control the 10,000-mile array to transform into the Starfall array. Are you confident? Lin, he had already calculated in his heart. With the help of the 10,000-mile array, he would directly transform into the Starfall array to attack the sea-splitting stage sea beast. If he succeeded, he could definitely kill that damn sea beast by surprise. Even if he could not kill it, he could at least seriously injure it. Li Lin was also on the side. As long as the sea beast was seriously injured, it was basically equivalent to death. Chapter 6020. The 10,000-mile array was the ultimate trump card used by the ancient warship to escape. 10,000 miles in a flash was the best description. Using it to launch a surprise attack from a distance of a few dozen miles was absolutely overkill. Moreover, forcibly stopping the array after it was activated would have a certain impact on the ancient warship itself. Switching to the Starfall array in an instant was not only extremely demanding on the controller, but it was also the same for the ancient warship itself. If it was the heavy warships of Middle Island, if they dared to do this, a sudden stop might cause them to fall apart. As for the medium-sized warships of Extreme North Island, they were simply not qualified to use the 10,000-mile array. Fortune comes from danger. Senior Ghost, do you think a sea beast's inner core at the sea-splitting stage will be helpful to you? Lin, he smiled faintly. He believed that the ghost would do its best to help him. If he could obtain the sea beast's corpse at the sea-splitting stage, it would also be of great benefit to the ghost. I don't eat the sea beast's inner core unless you can refine an elixir that is useful to me. Moreover, after being hit by the Starfall array, there are not many chances of having an inner core left. All right, cut the crap. If you want to fight, let's fight. The ghost had already prepared to control the array. Victory or defeat would be decided in an instant. In the distance, Li Lin was also struggling. His strength was almost equal to that of the seahorse at the sea-splitting stage. However, in the case of the same level, sea beasts were stronger than human cultivators. This was a well-known fact. Unless there was an extremely powerful genius, there would be an exception. Li Lin was obviously not such a genius. Moreover, in addition to the seahorse, there were also many Earth opening stage sea beasts on the side to deal with Li Lin. In a short period of time, he was already surrounded by danger. If there were no new changes, it was estimated that it would not be long before this sea-splitting stage expert from the extreme North Island fell here. Fortunately, changes appeared immediately. Lin, he put his hands on the ancient warship's array control panel with a serious face. He calmly issued his own order. 10,000-mile array, activate. Okudaba suddenly turned his head and looked at Lin in surprise. 10,000-mile array? Is he trying to escape? No way. Once the 10,000-kilometer formation was activated, the ancient warship would be able to travel 5,000 kilometers in an instant. Furthermore, all the spirit jades would be used up. It would be troublesome if the ancient warship stopped in the deep sea. In Okudaba's mind, there was no concept of stopping the 10,000-mile formation after it was activated. Therefore, he didn't have the same idea as Lin Yi. In fact, in terms of naval warfare, he was the real expert. If Lin didn't have the help of that ghost, he wouldn't even be qualified to carry Okuda's shoes. Due to their trust in Lin Yi, every order he gave was carried out without any hesitation. Therefore, before Okuda Dam could ask any questions, the formation had already been activated. Lin Yi's expression was extremely serious. His hands quickly slid on the control plate of the 10,000-mile formation. The entire ancient battleship was immediately surrounded by a layer of grayish-white gas. After a slight flash, it disappeared. In the blink of an eye, the huge ancient battleship had crossed hundreds of kilometers. It directly appeared in the middle of the area where Li Lin and Hai Shou were fighting. The grayish-white gas had disappeared, but the defensive layer of the battleship was constantly flashing with ripples. Turn off the 10,000-mile formation. Activate the Starfall formation. Lin, he shouted, waking up the stunned crew. Then, they subconsciously followed Lin Yi's order. Okudaba was also dumbfounded. He had never thought that the 10,000-mile formation could be used like this. Lin Yi's control of the formation made him feel ashamed. It turned out that the ancient battleship could be so powerful. Thinking about it, it was a waste of the ancient battleship's performance in his hands. In the secular world, it was like holding an AK-47 full of bullets in one's hand. Facing a group of enemies, but using the gun as a fire stick was a waste. However, Lin Yi didn't have the time to care about what Okudaba was thinking. When the 10,000-mile formation changed to the Starfall formation, it was inevitable that there would be a short period of time. When the Earth opening stage sea beasts discovered the appearance of the ancient battleship, they immediately changed their target and madly attacked the ancient battleship. The defensive layer of the ancient battleship was rapidly drained of energy. In just a breath's time, it was already on the verge of collapse. It was estimated that in another breath's time, it would be completely destroyed. The starlight in the sky shone once again. The endless starlight shrouded the entire world. It was a breathtaking beauty, but it concealed the most dangerous killing intent. Starfall formation, kill. Lin Yi didn't care about the defensive layer. He calmly controlled the Starfall formation and released the first attack. The Star River seemed to have suddenly changed its course. Endless starlight poured down. At least 2 of the Earth opening stage sea beasts around the ancient battleship were killed. Lin Yi's original intention was to directly attack the sea-splitting stage seahorse. However, he didn't have the time to aim. He could only casually attack first to relieve the crisis of the ancient battleship. This time, he was quite lucky. He unexpectedly injured so many sea beasts. However, Lin Yi didn't care about the result of the battle. He had already started to prepare the second attack. There was no doubt that the Starfall formation was terrifying. However, the Earth opening stage sea beasts didn't retreat. They still madly attacked the ancient battleship. They didn't wait for Lin Yi to launch the second Starfall formation. The defensive layer was completely destroyed. The sea-splitting stage seahorse also saw the ancient battleship on the verge of collapse. He didn't want to cause any trouble. So, he tried his best to entangle Li Lin. His battle strength was originally above Li Lin. This kind of fighting style completely locked Li Lin. He absolutely couldn't let this guy go to the ancient battleship support. Moreover, the distance between the two was too close. The sea-splitting stage sea beast didn't think that the ancient battleship's Starfall formation would fall in this situation, unless the opponent didn't care about Li Lin's life. The sudden appearance of the ancient battleship attracted the attention of all the Earth opening stage sea beasts. The pressure on Li Lin was suddenly reduced by more than half. Although he was still suppressed, at least he had some time to breathe. Li Lin swallowed a medicinal pill. Immediately, his aura began to rise crazily. When the defensive layer of the ancient battleship was torn apart, he unexpectedly suppressed the sea-splitting stage seahorse. Burning Sea Pill. Chapter 6021. After the eruption period ends, the user will fall into a period of weakness, completely losing the ability to fight, and even if they recover, it will lead to a decline in strength. Li Lin didn't take the Burning Sea Pill at the beginning, because he was worried that the sea beasts of the splitting sea stage wouldn't appear, wasting the pill in vain, and falling into a situation of eternal damnation. However, when the seahorse appeared, he didn't even have the opportunity to take the Burning Sea Pill. If it wasn't for the sudden appearance of the ancient warship, maybe Li Lin would have died like this. Heaven and earth reversal, one thought to calm the sea. Li Lin roared, and his whole body suddenly flew into the air, maintaining a posture of head down and feet up. His right index finger pointed at the surface of the sea, and surging true energy gushed out from his fingertip, enveloping the entire battle area. In an instant, the entire surface of the sea actually came to a standstill. From afar, it looked like Li Lin was stepping on the starry sky, the blue sea above his head, and pointing a finger. The seahorse of the splitting sea stage twisted its huge body with all its strength, trying to break the restriction of Li Lin, but in addition to a loud ka-ka-ka sound, it couldn't even move a little bit. As for the sea beasts of the Earth opening stage, they were even more unbearable. Seeing that they were about to attack the ancient warship at the last moment, they silently shattered and converged with the still sea waves, forming a strange picture scroll. Li Lin suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. For this move for him, the burden was even greater than the indefinite flame tide of Li Zaixiang and the Fire Phoenix. But he also had no choice. The strength of the burning sea pill couldn't be improved for long. If he wanted to slowly contend with these sea beasts, the final result would be him dying without a burial place. The only opportunity was to rely on the explosive power of the burning sea pill to release the most powerful attack. As long as he could kill the seahorse of the splitting sea stage and the other sea beasts of the earth opening stage, then the extreme North Island would be safe. No matter how many sea beasts of the mountain opening stage, as long as the restriction on the coastline of the extreme North Island is not destroyed, there is no need to worry. When the old fogies of the other families of the Guardian Convention come to support, the sea beasts that haven't left will be destroyed. The seahorse roared crazily. It also felt the threat of death, and Li Lin's momentum was still rising, faintly showing signs of breaking through the splitting sea stage. This kind of terrifying pressure made the seahorse unable to resist a sense of despair. Li Lin really wanted to improve his strength above the splitting sea stage, but he had consumed too much of the medicinal power of the burning sea pill. It was not enough to achieve such a degree of improvement. Fortunately, his current state was enough. He could last for at least 2 more days. The time of the burning sea absorbing sea to be to the splitting Lin had been to the sea, and the sea beast of the sea, and of the sea of the Li breaking sea. Li of the sea, splitting sea, beast of Li of the sea to be of Li of sea, to die, Lin of. However, Li Lin immediately felt that something was wrong. He had underestimated the strength of the sea beast body. Although the seahorse of the splitting sea stage could not break free, it could still resist the damage caused by the one-thought sea calming technique. Only a slight crack appeared on its flesh. This degree of injury, as long as it left the attack range, it could heal at any time. In the air, Li Lin's body trembled violently. He was about to reach his limit. The medicinal power of the burning sea pill was quickly dissipating, and as his strength decreased, the restraint on the seahorse of the splitting sea stage would only become weaker and weaker. If this thing broke free, even if there were no other sea beasts, it was enough to cause a devastating blow to the extreme North Island. Is it still not enough in the end? Even if I, Li Lin, put my life on the line, is it still not enough? Extreme North Island, Li family, is this the end? Li Lin, who was in midair, sighed softly. An endless sense of weakness swallowed his body in an instant. All of his aura dissipated, and he turned back into an ordinary old man, falling softly from the sky. He had tried his best. He couldn't protect the extreme North Island. There was no other way. Just when Li Lin's heart was filled with despair, an incomparably bright galaxy hung straight down from the sky. A vast and pure power of the stars rolled down, falling on the head of the sea beast of the splitting sea stage. The seahorse that had just broken free from Li Lin's attack didn't have time to be happy for long. It was hit by an even more powerful starfall array. This time, Lin E, or rather, that ghostly thing, had been accumulating power for a long time, aiming at its vitals to make its strongest attack. There was no room to resist or dodge. It was drowned by the endless starlight. Li Lin, who hadn't fallen into the sea yet, laughed, spitting out a few more mouthfuls of blood. But he didn't care at all, being able to see the death of this seahorse of the splitting sea stage. He felt that he had already gained a lot. Even if he was going to drown in the next moment, he had no regrets. Brother Okuda, come and command the defense against the other sea beasts. I'll go and save the people. Lin, he let out a big sigh of relief, hurriedly gave some instructions, and hurriedly left the bridge. He didn't want Li Lin to really drown in the sea. Because of the battle just now, this area could be considered a vacuum of sea beasts. As long as they were careful, they could still ensure that the ancient battleship wouldn't be attacked. Moreover, the strongest sea beasts in the surrounding area were mountain opening stage sea beasts, For a battleship that had been baptized by so many Earth opening stage sea beasts, and even one sea splitting stage sea beast, these mountain opening stage sea beasts were really nothing. However, Lenny didn't dare to waste time. After all, the ancient battleship's energy was almost depleted, and there were so many sea beasts around like tigers watching their prey, so he fully displayed the lightning escape technique, as if teleporting to the sea where Li Lin fell. As if he had teleported, he picked up the unconscious Li Lin and ran back. However, Lenny also conveniently collected a lot of Earth opening stage sea beast nadins and meat. These were very valuable things. Nadins could be used for alchemy in the future, and the Earth opening stage sea beast corpses were the best food for Languza to level up. If this foodie could eat a few more, not to mention the mountain opening stage, it might even be possible for him to directly advance to the Earth opening stage. The sea beast tied in the distance only saw a lightning arc flickering crazily around the ancient battleship, and then most of the scattered Earth opening stage sea beast corpses disappeared, and when they came to their senses, Lin Yi had already returned to the ancient battleship. Of course, even if they came to their senses, they didn't dare to casually go over. After all, this scene was too strange. After all, how could those sea beast corpses disappear into thin air? After rushing into the bridge, Lin Yi casually handed Li Lin to the crew member on the side and once again returned to the control array disk. Prepare the 10,000-mile array. Taking advantage of the fact that the sea beast tide had not yet arrived, Lin Yi felt that it was better to pull away from them as soon as possible. Chapter 6022. Once the ancient warship replenished enough spiritual jades, it would not be too late to deal with these sea beasts. All the crew members had already accepted Lin Yi's order, as if it was the voice of a fairy. They began to execute it without hesitation. A grayish-white gas appeared outside the ancient warship. When the sea beasts began to attack, the ancient warship disappeared instantly. When it reappeared, it was already inside the restriction of the northernmost island. Well done. Everyone continue to work hard and replenish quickly. The war is not over yet. Lin encouraged loudly. He immediately took Li Lin and walked out. Brother Lin, how is Senior Li? Okuda Ba quickly followed and asked in a low voice. Li Lin was involved in a very serious matter. If something happened to him, according to the Guardian Pact, the old ancestor of the Okuda family would have to come out of seclusion. Although Okuda Ba had left the Okuda family, he was still very concerned about this matter. Not very good, but not too bad either. Lin Yi casually replied. When he rescued Li Lin, he had already given him a few 7th-grade recover pills. However, this kind of pill was not very effective for Li Lin, who was at the sea-splitting stage. Especially the side effects of the burning sea pill, it was not something that could be offset by a few recover pills. Now, Lin Yi was transferring his genuine qi into Li Lin's body to help him repair his damaged meridians. Li Lin was in a deep coma anyway, so he would not notice the difference in Lin Yi's genuine qi. Okuda Ba also heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Yi's words meant that Li Lin's life was not in danger. This was a blessing in disguise. Whether it was for the northernmost island or the other super families, it was good news. The two of them came down from the ancient warship. From afar, they saw Li Ziyu rushing over with a few northern garrison guards. In another direction, Fire Phoenix also ran over with Li Zaixiang on its back. They had seen the previous battle. Although they could not see the specific situation, at least they knew that the sea beasts had suffered a great loss. When the ancient warship suddenly left the battlefield and returned to the northernmost island, they naturally came over to check on the situation. Especially Li Zaixiang, he was very concerned about his old ancestor. His old ancestor's sudden fall in the battle had really frightened him. Brother Lin, Senior Okuda, are you all right? This time, it's all thanks to you guys, otherwise, our extreme North Island would be in danger. Li Ziyu was the first to rush over, his face filled with gratitude. He wasn't spouting nonsense. If it weren't for Lin Yi and Okuda Dam, the fleet of mid-sized warships from the extreme North Island would have long been annihilated. Ancestor. How's the old ancestor? Before the Fire Phoenix arrives, Li Zaixiang shouts loudly. He feels that it doesn't matter if he, the owner of the island, dies, but Li Lin must be safe. He is the pillar of the Li family in the extreme north. Is it Patriarch Li Lin? Li Ziyu was shocked. He hadn't noticed that the old man Lin he was carrying was Li Lin. After all, this old man had been in seclusion for too long. Li Ziyu was young and had never seen him before. He only knew that there was such a person in his family. Moreover, Li Ziyu was busy cleaning up the traitor, so he didn't know the situation of the battle. Now that he knew that the old man was his family's old ancestor, he quickly stepped forward and carefully supported Li Lin. At the same time, he called for the doctor he brought to quickly treat the injury. Lin, he had done everything he could. He didn't continue to use his true qi to cure Li Lin. He just let the people from the extreme North Island treat Li Lin. In the blink of an eye, the Fire Phoenix and Li Zaixiang arrived. Seeing that Li Lin was still intact, the two of them were relieved. Old man, are you hurt? Why can't you walk by yourself? Li Ziyu was extremely worried. It was fine if the old ancestor was unconscious, but his own old man actually had to rely on the Fire Phoenix to move? I'm fine. I just used up too much energy. Li Zaixiang waved his hand indifferently. He didn't want Li Ziyu to worry about him. Although this brat always talked carelessly, he was very clear about what he was thinking in his heart. He couldn't hide it from him at all. Naturally, Li Ziyu didn't believe it. If it was just because he used up too much energy, would his old man look as ugly as a burnt tree trunk? This was clearly a sign that he had suffered an extremely heavy injury. Cough, cough, cough. This old man used up too much energy. You little guy really know how to lie with your eyes open. Li Lin, who was surrounded by several doctors, suddenly coughed a few times. He opened his eyes and glared at Li Zaixiang. If there was no Lin Yi's true qi, it would be impossible for Li Lin to wake up so quickly. However, even if he woke up, his period of weakness would not be reduced. Moreover, the reduction of his strength was also irreversible. Fortunately, Li Lin only dropped a small level. He still maintained at the peak of the early C splitting stage. He didn't directly fall out of the C splitting stage. Greetings, old ancestor. Li Ziyu didn't dare to neglect. He hurriedly stepped forward to greet Li Lin. This was the legendary big shot of the extreme North Li family. He had never seen him since he was born. He originally thought that he had died long ago. He didn't expect that he was still alive. It seemed a little disrespectful to think so. However, Li Ziyu and Li Zaixiang's way of getting along had already penetrated into their bones. There was nothing strange about it. Little guy, you're not bad. It seems that you're smarter than Li Zaixiang. Work hard in the future. Li family will rely on you to carry forward. Li Lin raised his hand and patted Li Ziyu's shoulder. Old ancestor, are you okay? What's the situation with my old man? Li Ziyu couldn't help but feel a little nervous in his heart. This old ancestor was swaying. It looked like he could be blown away by the wind. It was also quite worrying. However, he was more worried about Li Zaixiang's situation, because that guy looked even worse. I'm fine. Isn't it just a period of weakness? I'll recover in 2 days. However, your father is not so good. This guy forced himself to use a move that he couldn't control. As a result, he suffered a backlash. It triggered all the old and hidden injuries that haven't healed before. If we don't take measures within 5 days, you should prepare to take over as the island lord. Li Lin said casually. There was even a little venomous tongue in his mouth. However, there was a faint worry in his eyes. Li Zaixiang could be said to be the cornerstone of the extreme North Li family. Because of the existence of the Guardian Convention, he, the old ancestor, couldn't come out to manage things. The only person he could take care of was Li Zaixiang, who was at the Earth opening stage. Together with Fire Phoenix, these two little guys could almost reach the level of the half-step C splitting stage. Old ancestor, you should have a way to save my old man, right? Li Ziyu heard that Li Zaixiang only had 5 days. He immediately became anxious. Therefore, he didn't care that Li Lin was still in a period of weakness. He looked at him with eyes full of pleading. Chapter 6023. I really want to save him, but unfortunately, I can't even protect myself now. I have the will, but I can't. Little fellow, seeing that you're so filial, I'll be straightforward. Your father's injuries are mainly due to the severity of his old injuries and internal injuries. The backlash isn't that important. Therefore, if you can give him a top-grade recovery pill within 5 days, he might be able to recover completely. Li Lin looked helpless. He also knew that the recovery pill was very difficult to refine, not to mention a top-grade recovery pill. It was a joke to find such a pill within 5 days. But if there was no top-grade recovery pill and only a high-grade or even medium-grade recovery pill, it would be useless. Perhaps a high-grade recovery pill could save Li Zaixiang's life, but his cultivation would most likely be crippled. Li Zaixiang would probably feel that it was better to die than to live. A top-grade recovery pill? Li Ziyu was dumbfounded, but he immediately turned around and grabbed Lin Yi's arm as if he had grasped a life-saving straw. Brother Lin, I beg you, you must help me this time. No matter what, you must try. My old man's life depends on you. Brother Lin, help me. Brat, don't make things difficult for Linny. If he could refine the recovery pill, he would have done it for me long ago. Why would I need you to beg? If you do this now, it will only make things more difficult for Linny. Li Zaixiang scolded. He was very open-minded. Anyway, when he used the indefinite flame tide, he was already prepared to die. Now, he could live for a few more days and make good arrangements for his funeral. He was already very lucky. Please search for the most complete version. Translator, Atlas Studios editor. Atlas Studios Lin Yi struggled in his heart. He really wanted to save Li Zaixiang, but without Han Jingjing, the automatic alchemy system could not refine the recovery pill. It was not that it was impossible to cooperate with Li Zai, and it did not matter if the secret was exposed. The key was that he could not cooperate with Li Ziyi to refine the pill, unless Li Ziyi could be sure that she could refine the pill herself. Brother Lin, I was reckless. You don't have to be difficult. When Li Ziyu saw that Lin, he didn't say anything. He couldn't conceal the disappointment in his heart. Was there really no way to refine the recovery pill? More importantly, the 2 top-grade medicinal pills required to refine the top-grade recovery pill were not something that could be easily found. Even if he wanted to let Lin Yi try to practice, Li Ziyu himself felt that it was a little too much. Brotherly, you don't have to worry. Let me think of a way to refine the recovery pill. Let's deal with the sea beast first. By the way, where is Languza? Lin Yi suddenly thought of why Languza was nowhere to be seen. That kind of big scene just now was his favorite. If Lin Yi didn't stop him, he might have gone out to sea to fight. Li Ziyu only took Lin Yi's words as a courtesy and replied with flagging interest. I asked him to help guard the array base. Before this matter is over, there cannot be any more mishaps. Just as he finished speaking, Li Ziyu suddenly shouted, The sea beasts are retreating. They all ran away. Lin Yi and the others immediately turned their heads to look. Sure enough, the sea beasts in the distance were retreating. It was probably because the strongest sea beasts had been killed. The remaining sea beasts didn't dare to continue attacking the extreme North Island without a leader. Although this result was a bit unexpected, it was still reasonable. Originally, Li Linli thought that the others had already lost their fighting strength and was worried about how long the last restriction could last. Now, the rain had finally passed, and the sky was clear. Everything was fine. Okudaba also let out a sigh of relief. The ancient warship had made a great contribution in this battle, but it wasn't without damage. If the sea beasts didn't retreat, the ancient warship would still be the main force of the battle. It was hard to say whether it could be preserved or not. Now that the sea beasts had retreated, at least it could be repaired. Let's go back first. Since these sea beasts are tactful, we don't need to care about them. There's still a lot of things to clean up on the island. Li Lin laughed and went back with Li Zaixiang and the others. He was right. The sea beasts had left, but there were still a lot of things to clean up on the island. For example, a spy like Zheng Tianqing was still fanning the flames on the island. He wanted to cooperate with the sea beasts from both inside and outside. Until the sea beasts completely left, he was unwilling to hide again. Because he always wore a hood and a mask when he was active, he didn't have to worry about being seen through. Zheng Tianqing, you did a good job. The organization is very satisfied with your contribution. This time, the operation didn't succeed, but it has nothing to do with you. You have done your best. Now you should settle down and don't reveal any abnormalities. I will continue to contact you in the future. At that time, your authority will definitely be promoted. The deep male voice seemed to be very satisfied with Zheng Tianqing. As he said, although the overall operation failed, Zheng Tianqing's task was completed very well. It could even be regarded as an overachievement. Thank you for the compliment. It is my honor. I am very willing to contribute to the organization. As long as the organization needs me, I will do my best to help the organization. Zheng Tianqing said perfunctorily, but in his heart, he was thinking about when he could really enter the core circle of the organization. An organization that could ally with the spirit beasts and communicate with sea beasts to attack the extreme North Island was very powerful. If possible, Zheng Tianqing wouldn't mind doing more tasks and promoting his status and authority in the organization as soon as possible. With the support of this organization, he believed that when he and his grandfather returned to the East Continent, they would immediately be able to make a comeback and regain their former glory. In a secret room on the extreme North Island, the mysterious man in black cut off the communication with Zheng Tianqing and shook his head with a smile. In this operation, Zheng Tianqing could be said to be the only bright spot. Originally, Yu Ziqing of Night Moon City was also a good candidate, but unfortunately, this guy died. As a collaborator of the organization, it was a pity to lose him. Originally, they hoped to use him to open the gap in the East Continent, but now it seemed that they could only find another suitable candidate. If not, they could also train Zheng Tianqing well. Miss Luan, the operation on the extreme North Island failed. This time, the sea beasts suffered a heavy loss. Not only the leader of the sea-splitting stage was killed, but many of the Earth-opening stage sea beasts were also killed. The only gain was that we received a good member. The mysterious man in black turned on a communication device on his wrist, and Luan Xiaoru's virtual projection appeared above his wrist. It seemed that the center had solved the problem of long-distance communication on the Heaven Stage Island. What happened? Previously, we estimated that we could easily destroy all the defense forces of the extreme North Island. This time, the Sea Beast Tide is not the kind of low-level sea beasts that deceive people. The main force is the Profound Ascension Stage and the Mountain Opening Stage, plus a small number of Earth Opening Stage Sea Beast Leader and a Sea Splitting Stage Sea Beast Leader. How could the extreme North Island resist? Luan Xiaoru showed a surprised expression. This operation was definitely a plan that the center had carefully planned for a long time. Before they launched the operation, it was almost in the bag. How could it fail in the end? Chapter 6024. There are some unexpected factors, such as Lin Yi, the Jinx. Every time he appeared, he would ruin our plan. In addition, the Okuda Dam's ancient battleship is far more powerful than we expected. Most importantly, there is a super old monster at the mid-sea splitting stage on the extreme North Island. It was his sudden appearance that turned the tide and killed most of the sea beasts, turning the tide for the extreme North Island. The Black-Robed Man gave a brief report. Even if all these factors are taken into account, they still had the upper hand in terms of strength. It can only be said that man proposes and God disposes. Luck was not on their side. It's Lin Yi again. Since it's him, it's not surprising. However, the Li family actually has an old monster at the sea-splitting stage. We really miscalculated this time. Originally, the extreme North Island was a very suitable place to operate as a base. Since we couldn't take it down in a short time, it's not a big deal. Anyway, our main goal is to establish a relationship with the spiritual beasts and the sea beasts through this cooperation. Lan Xiaoru smiled faintly. Apparently, she had accepted this failure. Then should we give up on the extreme North Island first? The mysterious man in black sighed with slight regret. He also knew that there would be no other result. Let's put it aside for now. There will be opportunities in the future. Continue to arrange for spies to lurk, and at the same time, bribe the spies that can be bribed. One day, we will take down the extreme North Island, even if they are at the sea-splitting stage. Luan Xiaoru cut off the communication after making the decision. As for the extreme North Island, it would be great if they could take it down, but it didn't matter if they couldn't. Now, the center's layout was on the South Island, and then it would develop to the East Continent. This attack on the extreme North Island was just a test to see how many trump cards these so-called ancient families had. After such a test, they really got the result. On the other side, Lin Yi did not go back with the people of the Li family. Instead, he took a detour and went directly to the station of the Dan Hall. The Northern Town Guards were patrolling everywhere on the street. All the outsiders were basically in their residences, so Lin Yi easily met Li Zhaoyi. "Linny, why are you looking for me? If it wasn't for refining the regeneration pill, I would have gone back to practice." Li Zhaoyi was still so direct, and Lin Yi could only smile bitterly to himself. "Yes and no. I did come to you for the regeneration pill, but I can't refine it with you." Lin Yi scratched his head for fear that Li Zhaoyi would turn around and leave. "What do you mean? If you don't help me, no one on this island will be able to refine the recovery pill with me." Li Zhaoyi frowned slightly. Although she was a little unhappy, she did not leave on the spot. "I want to ask you, if you were to refine the recovery pill by yourself, would there be any unsurmountable difficulties? Perhaps we can consider it from this direction and let you refine the recovery pill alone." Lin Yi had thought about this possibility for a long time. Anyway, if he and Li Zhaoyi were to each be responsible for half of the fusion, they would definitely fail. There was no chance of luck. "Lin Yi, why do you always refuse to refine the pill with me? As long as you cooperate with me, it will be easy to refine the pill." Li Zhaoyi's pretty face was frosty, and she almost pointed at Lin Yi's nose and asked him if he was looking down on her. Lin Yi also had his own difficulties. If he could, he would refuse to refine the pill with Li Zhaoyi. If he knew that he would fail, he would still try. Wasn't that asking for trouble? One of the main ingredients of the regeneration pill, the best regeneration pill, was not so easy to get. Are you worried that the alchemy method of your sect will be leaked, so you don't want to refine the pill with me? If that's the case, then you don't have to worry, because I am also the successor of the pill god, so we are fellow apprentices. Of course, that's if you are really the successor of the pill god. Li Zhaoyi was very considerate to find a way for Lin Yi to step down, and at the same time, she slightly questioned what he said about the sect. "Even if we are from the same sect, we are still fellow apprentices. I'm obviously older than you, right?" Lin Yi's heart moved, and he said casually. He was worried about how to find Zhang Liju, and perhaps this weird girl knew where to find his cheat master. "That doesn't matter, do what you like. So, do you agree to work with me now?" Li Zhaoyi smiled, not caring about whether Lin Yi was the disciple of the pill god or not. She only wanted to know if he could refine the regeneration pill. "Wait, let's talk about this first. Little sister, do you know where Master is? I have something to ask him." Lin Yi thought of the chance to find Zhang Liju, and his heart was slightly excited. Meng Yao and the others had been unconscious for so long, and there was finally hope for them to wake up. "So you want to find Master? Although I've never heard him mention that he has a disciple like you, it doesn't matter. As long as you can help me refine the regeneration pill, I will tell you where he is." A rare sly smile appeared on Li Zhaoyi's face. "Since you have a favor to ask of me, there was no way I could reject you, right?" Lin Yi hesitated. Refining the regeneration pill with this weird girl would expose his secret, but would she turn against him if he failed? But thinking of the unconscious Meng Yao and the others, Lin Yi made up his mind. He gritted his teeth and nodded. "Fine, I agree to do the refining with you. But you have to tell me where I can find Master." "How is that possible?" "Of course you have to succeed with me first, then I will tell you where he is." "What if you're an imposter? I must first confirm that your alchemy technique is indeed from our sect's lineage." Li Zhaoyi humphed and raised her chin with an unquestionable expression. Evidently, there was no room for discussion. In fact, this was all bullshit. Li Zhaoyi was worried that Lin Yi would go back on his words after finding out the news. At that time, she wouldn't be able to beat him, and she wouldn't be able to chase after him. This guy had rejected her time and time again, so it was very likely that he would do something like this. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't know what Li Zhaoyi was really thinking. If he did, He wouldn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was supposed to keep his word, but in this weird girl's eyes, it was nothing. It was just a few rejections. Was there a need to do this? Chapter 60:25. I see. So you're the disciple from the common world that my master told me about. I didn't think that you'd come to Sky Class Island already. I was wondering why I'd never heard of you before. Now it makes sense. Li Zhaoyi's face was filled with pleasure. She didn't really care if Lin Yi was Zhang Liju's disciple or not, but after confirming it, she was really happy. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised. Zhang Liju had gone back to the common world and knew that his legacy had been taken by someone else, so it wasn't strange at all to have a disciple in the common world. But why was this weird girl so happy? Was she sure that she had a disciple now? Hey, Lin Yi, there's an order of senior. If you're the disciple from the common world, then you have to call me Little Shiji. Little Shiji wants you to help with pill concoction. What's the meaning of this? Li Zhaoyi's smile disappeared as she suddenly put on the airs of a Shiji. So she was happy just now because she was waiting here. It's not up to you to decide who enters first. I need to find my master and let him confirm it. Before that, we'll do as we said. You have to call me Shiji. Originally, Lenny didn't really care whether he was a Shiji or a Shiji. He had Laner, the little Shiji, in front of him, so it didn't matter if Li Zhaoyi became a Shiji. But this girl wanted to use her status as a Shiji to make Lin Yi work with her on pill concoction. This was unacceptable, and the point was that if the concoction failed, he wouldn't be taught a lesson by this cheap Shiji, would he? Forget it, that's not important. You have to concoct pills with me first, or else there's no need to say anything else. Li Zhaoyi didn't really want to fight for the position of Shiji either. The most important thing was still concocting pills. He didn't know why she was so insistent on concocting pills with Lin Yi. Was she going crazy? Lin Yi didn't have a choice. He could only grit his teeth and nod. All right, concoction first then, but before that, you have to tell me if you concoct pills alone, what kind of difficulty would you face? Is it multitasking or something else? Multitasking is the most basic ability for an alchemist. What's so difficult about it? The only problem I have is that I don't have enough true chi to refine the recovery pill alone. If I had the strength of the mountain opening stage, or even the earth opening stage, do you think I would want to refine the pill with you? Li Zhaoyi raised her delicate chin and glanced at Lin Yi arrogantly. She even pretended to be disgusted. After knowing that Lin Yi was her fellow disciple, the eccentric chick spoke much more casually. At least, Lin Yi had never seen such rich expressions before. To be honest, Lin Yi felt that he had miscalculated. Wasn't it better to let this chick maintain her original appearance? Forget it. Now is not the time to care about this. If it is only because of the lack of true chi, it does not seem to be a big problem. Junior sister, if your true chi problem can be solved, will you be able to successfully refine the recovery pill? Lin Yi already had a countermeasure in his heart. As long as he could confirm this, Li Zaixiang could be saved. It should be more or less the same. But how do you want to solve my true chi problem? Don't tell me about using medicinal pills. That unstable method will not only destroy the recovery pill, but also me. I will not use it. Li Zhaoyi stared at Lin Yi with an unfriendly expression. If this guy really dared to propose such a method, no matter if he was a senior or junior brother, he would definitely not give him a good look. Don't worry. How can I let you use medicinal pills to solve your true chi problem? Do you think I am an idiot? I have never heard of anyone who can refine medicinal pills at the same time as refining pills. Actually, I have a martial arts technique that can replenish true chi for others. It can ensure that your true chi is full at any time. There will be absolutely no mistakes. You just need to focus on refining the recovery pill. Lin Yi remembered that he had helped Han Jingjing refine pills in the past. The current situation was very similar to that time, and this was the only solution he could think of. He really hadn't used the Heavenly Spring Rain for a long time. Now it was perfect to use it to cooperate with Li Zhaoyi. You said to use your true chi to replenish mine? How is this possible? Everyone's true chi is different. If it's just used to heal injuries, it might be possible, but right now, I need to use true chi at all times. As long as the true chi you send over is slightly different from mine, it can't be used by me at all. Even if we cultivate the same mental cultivation method, it's still the same. Don't tell me you want me to refine pills while transforming your true chi. Although Li Zhaoyi did not directly refuse, the doubt in her words was not concealed at all. In her opinion, this was clearly another excuse for Lin Yi to not want to cooperate with her in alchemy. If I say it's possible, it's possible. If you don't believe me, we can try it. You can use some true chi first. Lin Yi did not say much nonsense. Facts spoke louder than words. As long as he let Li Zhaoyi experience it personally, she would be able to understand the power of the heavenly spring rain. Why can't you cooperate with me in alchemy? If you're a really master successor in the secular world, you should be able to cooperate with me very well. That way, it will be very easy to refine the recovery pill. Li Zhaoyi shook her head and looked at Lin Yi suspiciously. As for trying to replenish her true chi, she completely ignored it. Lin Yi had no choice but to continue to persuade her. Little junior sister, you may not know, but Lin Yi is thinking that because Island Master used a big move that his body can't bear, all his old injuries and internal injuries have erupted. If he can't take the top-grade recovery pill as soon as possible, I'm afraid he won't be able to hold on for more than a few days. Therefore, we must make sure nothing goes wrong in this alchemy. If I refine pills with you, it is very likely that there will be some mistakes in cooperation that will lead to the failure of alchemy. Only when you refine alone will you be able to control everything. I guarantee that there will be no problem with your true chi. Is Island Master Li seriously injured? Li Zhaoyi was surprised. Although she knew that the situation on the extreme North Island was critical, she did not expect that Li Zaixiang would be seriously injured and would need the top-grade recovery pill to heal. In that case, even if I don't tell you Master's whereabouts, you will still come to me to ask me to refine pills, right? Lin Yi was speechless. Can this girl's focus not be so strange? That's not the point, okay? Okay, since I promised you, I won't hide it from you. I'm very trustworthy, and I absolutely keep my word. Li Zhaoyi waved her hand very generously, indicating that the agreement just now was still valid. Chapter 6026. Li Zhaoyi tilted her head and thought about it carefully. She felt that what Lin Yi said did make sense. If this guy could really solve the problem of her lack of true chi, it seemed that there was no need for two people to refine the recovery pill. After all, this was not the yin and yang pill, and the conditions were not so harsh. Speaking of which, this guy could refine the yin and yang pill by himself. She must dig up this matter and talk about it later. All right, then I'll try. If it doesn't work, don't blame me. Li Zhaoyi looked at the recovery fire in Li Zhaoyi's hand, and with a wave of her slender hand, a ball of recovery fire appeared in her palm. It grew stronger and weaker as she willed it, dancing happily like a living spirit. Lin Yi looked at the recovery fire in Li Zhaoyi's hand expressionlessly, but he was actually very envious. He could condense a purer and more powerful recovery fire, but he could not change the temperature or the fire's intensity. Compared to Li Zhaoyi, a true alchemy genius, he was really trash. After a while, Li Zhaoyi nodded to Lin Yi, indicating that he could start to replenish his true chi. The amount of true chi she had consumed during this period was enough for her to judge whether Lin Yi's method was effective. Lin Yi raised his right hand and used spring rain from the heavens to release a ball of pure true chi. It nourished Li Zhaoyi's meridians like a spring breeze and rain, instantly replenishing the true chi she had previously consumed. There was no conflict at all, as if the true chi was originally cultivated by her, and there was no problem converting it into recovery fire immediately. It really works? That's amazing. Li Zhaoyi opened her mouth and exclaimed in a low voice. Her big eyes were full of disbelief. She had heard of martial arts techniques that could replenish true chi for others, but she had never seen one that could work so seamlessly with Lin Yi's. How is it? I said it's possible. This is just a small test. When it's time for the official alchemy, I will continue to inject true chi into you so that you can maintain your peak condition at all times. As long as there are no problems with alchemy, you will definitely be able to successfully refine the recovery pill. Lin Yi smiled faintly, and his confident look slightly infected Li Zhaoyi. What if you don't have enough true qi? However, Li Zhaoyi was not fooled. Lin Yi's strength was stronger than hers, but this kind of martial arts technique that replenished genuine qi could not be absorbed as much as you sent it. 50 to 60% of it was absorbed was already the best effect. Don't worry, I may be lacking in many things, but I'm not lacking in true qi. It's more than enough to support you in refining a furnace of recovery pills. Lin Yi had the space of the jade pendant as a backup, and spring rain from the heavens was not a martial skill that needed to be used continuously for a long time. He only needed to replenish the consumption of instant memory. Since you're so confident, let's start concocting pills immediately. Li Zhaoyi suddenly remembered that Lin Yi had been continuously refining pills before. Although that idiot Zheng Tianqing said that it was because of taking pills, now she was more willing to believe that Lin Yi's true qi was really incomparably thick. Therefore, Li Zhaoyi did not want to wait any longer and immediately proposed to start refining pills. So fast? Don't you need to prepare? Lin Yi was prepared to spend more time to dispel Li Zhaoyi's concerns. He did not expect this chick to be so straightforward and start immediately. Prepare for what? Do I need to bathe, change clothes, and fast for 3 days? It doesn't matter if you need me, as long as Li Zaixiang can afford to wait. Li Zhaoyi shrugged and looked at Lin Yi with a mischievous smile. Lin Yi was suddenly speechless. Sure enough, the original eccentric chick was more pleasing to the eye. By the way, you came to me to refine pills. The top-grade 7th grade recovery pill and top-grade recovery pill should be ready, right? I'm poor, I don't have these kinds of pills to refine pills. Li Zhaoyi stretched out her hand, meaning to not dawdle and quickly take out the things. You're the one who's been looking for me to cooperate in alchemy. Shouldn't you be the one to prepare the main ingredients? Lin Yi pretended to be angry. If this chick was considered poor, at least 90% of the people on Heaven Stage Island would starve to death, right? It seemed that he had to show some dignity as a senior brother. You don't? Then hurry up and go do what you're supposed to do. Li Zhaoyi waved her hand, feeling very pleased inside. Let's see if you still dare to reject me. Humph, the tables have turned, haven't they? It was Li Zhaoyi who had been chasing Lin Yi to make pills, but in order to save Li Zaixiang and find out about Zhang Liju's whereabouts, Lin Yi could only turn around and beg Li Zhaoyi to make pills. Fortunately, Lin Yi had both of these pills, and he didn't plan on asking Li Zhaoyi to take them out at all. This act was just to make this eccentric chick happy. All right, you win. This is the top-grade 7th grade recovery pill and top-grade recovery pill. Take it. Remember, there's only one. Don't mess it up. Lin Yi took out a jade box and handed it to Li Zhaoyi with a helpless look. Li Zhaoyi opened the box and saw that it was indeed the 2 top-grade pills, as well as many supplementary ingredients needed for the recovery pill. Lin Yi had already prepared everything. I knew you weren't being honest. I didn't let you take them out, so you wanted to take them out? Forget it. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Hurry up and start making the pills. Li Zhaoyi pointed at Lin Yi with her index finger and teased him a bit before turning around and bringing Lin Yi into her pill room. Li Zhaoyi had wanted to say a few more words to get back at Lin Yi for rejecting her cooperation, but the ingredients for the recovery pill were already prepared. As someone who was about to become addicted to pill making, she couldn't hold it in any longer. Lin Yi smiled slightly and felt that this chick was actually quite interesting. After entering the pill room, he activated the restriction on the door to prevent someone from suddenly disturbing the pill making and causing unnecessary losses. Li Zhaoyi came to the middle of the pill room, where there was an exquisite pill furnace the size of a basketball. The surface was decorated with complex lines. From Lin Yi's perspective, it should be some kind of formation that was beneficial to pill making and could be studied later. As soon as she entered the pill room, Li Zhaoyi's expression became solemn, as if she was performing an extremely solemn ceremony. She gently knelt on the futon beside the pill furnace and placed the jade box that Lin Yi had given her on the short table beside her. Then, she slowly opened the lid of the pill furnace. It was the first time that he had seen an alchemist of this level refining pills seriously, so he was very attentive and didn't dare to make a sound lest he disturbed Li Zhaoyi. Chapter 60:27. Compared to Li Zhaoyi, Yi was really ashamed. When he used the Shinong cauldron to refine pills, he had never cleaned it so carefully. He always did it in a way that was convenient for him. Sure enough, men and women were different. There was absolutely no way to compare these details. After carefully cleaning the inside of the elixir furnace, Li Zhaoyi withdrew the alchemy fire and began to refine pills. The previous cleaning was also to preheat the elixir furnace, so now she could directly throw in the auxiliary herbs. "I'm starting. You should also prepare to support me," Li Zhaoyi said lightly without looking back. She raised the temperature of the alchemy fire under the elixir furnace a little, and the auxiliary herbs inside began to melt. Lin did not dare to be negligent. He quickly sat cross-legged behind Li Zhaoyi and stretched out his arm to support her back. Of course, he only touched her clothes. He was also embarrassed to directly press on her body. If Li Zhaoyi turned around and slapped him, it would be embarrassing. The pure genuine qi was transformed into genuine qi that was completely compatible with Li Zhaoyi's, continuously replenishing her so that she could always maintain her peak state. No matter how she used it, there would not be a trace of weakness. This guy was right. In this way, I only need to focus on alchemy. A mere restoration pill is definitely not a problem for me. Li Zhaoyi's confidence suddenly increased, and her control of the alchemy fire became even more wonderful and precise. After the auxiliary materials became elixir liquid, Li Zhaoyi controlled it to be pulled into a slender water line, slowly moving at the edge of the elixir furnace. Then, the 7th grade restoration pill and restoration pill were thrown into the elixir furnace at the same time. Then, she closed the lid and began the most difficult part of the refining. As Lin Yi transferred genuine qi, he used his divine sense to observe the situation of Li Zhaoyi's alchemy. What surprised him was that this girl's divine sense was actually quite strong. At least, it was completely in line with her own strength. They were all at the level of the great perfection of the nascent soul realm. She was indeed the successor of the pill god. When everyone on the Heaven Stage Island did not pay attention to the cultivation of divine sense, her divine sense did not fall behind her own strength at all. But Lin Yi immediately understood why. When Li Zhaoyi was refining, he was using his consciousness to monitor the situation in the cauldron, sometimes even interfering with the changes in the cauldron. This was the same as putting his consciousness in the cauldron to train. It was impossible for it not to be strong. Although she didn't know the method to create a spiritual consciousness pill flame, Lin Yi believed that as long as Li Zhaoyi wanted to, she would be able to master it in a matter of minutes. Elixir God Zhang Liju's legacy was indeed unique. Even if Lin Yi didn't have the art of stealing fortune, as long as he could learn from Zhang Liju, his spirit wouldn't be any weaker. After the 2 elixirs entered the pill furnace, Li Zhaoyi's qi consumption instantly increased by 10 times. To refine the finished elixir back into liquid without destroying the medicinal properties, the difficulty was not to be underestimated. More importantly, these were 2 elixirs, and they had to be done at the same time. There couldn't be any mistakes, and the consumption of spirit and qi was terrifying. Lin Yi jumped in fright as well. This sudden consumption almost didn't allow him to replenish it in time. Li Zhaoyi's consumption rate was very stable, so he couldn't replenish too much in case it overflowed. If it wasn't for Li Zhaoyi's rapid consumption, she wouldn't have used up all her qi. She would have been in big trouble. After quickly replenishing this wave of consumption, Lin Yi paid attention to the situation in the pill furnace. Because Li Zhaoyi's spirit was controlling it, he didn't dare to go too deep in case it affected Li Zhaoyi. The 2 elixirs were melting smoothly, and they had already shrunk by a layer. It was slight, but it was still clear under the spirit's control. The melted elixir was slowly moving towards the center under Li Zhaoyi's control, merging drop by drop. It was the same for the supporting elixirs at the edge. The three were maintaining absolute synchronization, and there couldn't be any mistakes. It didn't matter which side the elixir was in. If there was a slight mistake in the amount, the merging might fail. The three elixirs gathered at the center of the pill furnace at an extremely slow speed, and the moment they touched, Li Xiaoyi's qi consumption skyrocketed once more. If it wasn't for Lin Yi's help, the elixir would have failed already. This time, he was prepared for it, but the huge consumption still surprised him. He instinctively sent his qi over, but because he was in too much of a rush, he didn't control the amount of qi properly, and some of it overflowed, excreting through Li Xiaoyi's pores. Although the qi wasn't violent, it still burst Li Xiaoyi's clothes, turning them into shreds on the ground without a sound. Lin Yi was instantly embarrassed. This kind of situation hadn't happened in a long time. In all honesty, he really didn't do it on purpose, but he didn't know if Li Xiaoyi would believe him. Because his clothes were torn, his palm had accidentally touched Li Xiaoyi's smooth, white back. To be honest, the feeling was intoxicating, but Lin Yi was only worried that Li Xiaoyi would grab the pill furnace in front of him and turn around to smash it. He wanted to pull his palm away, but that would be too obvious. It would be bad if Li Xiaoyi had any mood swings because of this. He carefully felt the situation in the pill furnace. Fortunately, Li Xiaoyi wasn't affected and still maintained an extremely stable state. Otherwise, this furnace of recovery pills would be finished. Thus, Lin Yi decided to maintain the status quo and not cause any trouble. Li Xiaoyi's feelings were extremely complicated at this time. A girl's clothes had suddenly turned into shreds, and her pure body was completely exposed in front of a man who was almost a stranger. It would be strange if she could remain calm. However, her pursuit of alchemy had already suppressed the shyness in her heart, so she could still maintain stability in the situation. However, a faint layer of pink slowly appeared on her originally snow-white skin, which was enough to show her true feelings. Lin Yi was also helpless. Now that neither of them could react, he could only continue to pretend that he didn't know. In order to prevent Li Xiaoyi from feeling embarrassed, he simply closed his eyes. However, while his divine sense was focused on the pill furnace, he couldn't help but see some scenes that he shouldn't have seen. To be honest, it could only be described as perfect. Lin Yi also had to use strong willpower to completely divert his attention. At this critical moment, he couldn't take advantage of her. Chapter 6028. After a long time, Li Xiaoyi finally returned to normal. Although the attractive pink on her skin still did not fade, at least she was no longer trembling, and the progress of alchemy began to gradually increase. After closing his eyes, Lin Yi no longer paid attention to the situation in the alchemy furnace. Without any distractions, he wholeheartedly provided qi for Li Xiaoyi. He only hoped that this damn alchemy process would end soon. This state lasted for 2 days and 2 nights, and a strong pill fragrance finally wafted out. There was also a clear sound of pills rolling in the alchemy furnace. Obviously, the recovery pill had been successfully refined. Lin Yi was attracted by the pill fragrance and quietly opened his eyes, just in time to see the snow-white back open the alchemy furnace and put the pills inside into the jade bottle. Have you seen enough? If you have, hurry up and give me a set of clothes. Li Xiaoyi said calmly with her back to Lin Yi, but the increasingly bright pink on her skin betrayed her. Obviously, her heart was definitely not as calm as her voice showed. First of all, I didn't see anything, and I definitely didn't do it on purpose. Lin Yi withdrew his palm from the warm and smooth jade back with some guilt. He quickly found a set of women's casual clothes from the jade pendant space and handed it to Li Xiaoyi. Did I say you did it on purpose? Why do you have to explain so guiltily? Is this the clothes of the secular world? I don't know what's so good about it. You actually carry it with you, and it's a woman's style. Li Xiaoyi took the clothes and put them on herself, not forgetting to mock Lin Yi. That tone was clearly saying that Lin Yi was like a pervert. Lin Yi was speechless. What did he explain? The more he said, the more mistakes he would make. Li Xiaoyi was now naked. Although she was wearing clothes, it was still not convenient for her to stand up. Lin quickly got up and turned his head to show that he was not a pervert. I'll go out and wait for you. Come out when you're done. Li Zhaoyi was obviously not in a good mood. Lin could only do this now. She would probably be in a better mood when she put on her clothes. I've seen what I should and shouldn't have seen. Why are you still pretending to be serious now? Li Zhaoyi snorted coldly and got up to put on her clothes leisurely, as if she had completely let go of herself. Lin immediately smiled bitterly. This chick definitely did it on purpose. But forget it. It was normal for a girl to be in a bad mood after suffering a loss. As a man, he would endure it. After he left the alchemy room in silence, Li Zhaoyi sped up in a flurry. Her face was so red that it seemed like it was about to drip blood. She didn't know what had happened just now. She actually showed that she didn't care, but God knew that she really cared. After Lin, he ran out of the pill room. He heaved a sigh of relief. Logically speaking, this wasn't the first time he had experienced such a situation. Why was he still so nervous? Before he could figure out this problem, he found that there were a lot of people gathered in this yard. In addition to those from the alchemy hall, Li Ziyu and Languza were all there. Even Fire Phoenix and Li Zaixiang came over. Right now, Li Zaixiang's condition was very bad. His whole body looked like a dried-up riverbed. His skin was full of open wounds. However, Fire Phoenix did not continue to carry him. Perhaps it was because Fire Phoenix was also powerless. Why are you all here? He walked out of the room, glanced at Li Zaixiang and Fire Phoenix, and asked curiously. Li Ziyu took a few steps forward and looked at nervously. Brother Lin, originally we wanted to ask Master Li Zhao for help to think of a way to delay some of the old man's injuries. I didn't expect to hear that you have already come to refine recovery elixir with Master Li Zhao. You are really a good brother. Thank you for your hard work. How do you know that we are refining recovery elixir? I don't seem to have told anyone about this. He felt a little strange. Although he and Li Zhao had a plan to refine recovery elixir, the beginning time was a last-minute idea. No one should know. Li Ziyu pointed to Zheng Dongjue on the side. The people from the alchemy hall told us that after you came to find Master Li Zhao, you went into the alchemy room for seclusion. I guess you're refining recovery elixir. Isn't it recovery elixir? It is indeed recovery elixir, and it has been successfully refined. He smiled slightly and didn't hide it. At the same time, he looked at Zheng Dongjue thoughtfully. Did this guy want to use this news to please Li Ziyu? No matter what he wanted to do, he didn't care. Anyway, recovery elixir had been refined, but he didn't know what quality it was. He really didn't notice it just now. Li Ziyu was overjoyed. He grabbed Lin Yi's arm and said, Brother Lin, I really don't know what to say. Although we are brothers, we are brothers. What else is there to say? Uncle Li, come in and have a seat. Master Li Zhao will come out soon. She is cleaning the alchemy furnace. Lin didn't know how to explain that Li Zhao didn't come out, so he could only make up an excuse. They didn't know how close Lin, Yi, and Li Zhao were, but since he said they could go in, they could go in. It was really inconvenient to stay outside all the time to talk. Boss, I heard about the things you did. You actually turned the sea beast tied upside down and turned it upside down. It was such a fun thing, but you didn't take me with you. That's not good enough. Next time, you must take me with you. Languza came forward and expressed his dissatisfaction with a smile. This way of expressing his dissatisfaction was really strange. If I take you with me, I might kill you by mistake. He could only express his speechlessness. When everyone entered the room, Li Zhao also walked out of the alchemy room. She was dressed in a casual suit from the secular world. She was definitely a smart person. She was completely different from her previous image of a classical beauty, but the fresh and refined feeling didn't diminish at all. Although everyone was a little curious why Li Zhao suddenly wore secular clothes, they were too embarrassed to ask such questions. Li Ziyu hurriedly stepped forward and cupped his fist to greet her. Master Li Zhao, I heard from Brother Lin that you too have refined recovery elixir. Li Ziyu is here to thank you. In any case, you will always be a distinguished guest of our extreme North Island. Li Ziyu cupped his fists and bowed respectfully. As long as he could save Li Zaixiang, it didn't matter even if he had to kneel down. Chapter 6029. Li Ziyu carefully took it with both hands and bowed to thank him again. He couldn't wait to open the jade bottle and pour the recovery pill into his palm. The rich fragrance of the pill spread out in an instant, and everyone felt refreshed. It could be seen that this pill was really amazing. The best recovery pill. It's the best recovery pill. Li Ziyu shouted with ecstasy. He knew that only the best recovery pill could save Li Zixiang. Even if it was of superior quality, it couldn't make Li Zixiang recover. Even if they had the materials, there wasn't enough time for Li Zhaoyi and Lin Yi to make another batch of elixirs, so this could be said to be their only chance. The heavens took pity on them, and they actually made a top-grade elixir in one go. Old man, hurry up and eat the pill. You want to quit so quickly? Don't even think about it. Li Ziyu didn't care about anything else. He quickly sent the pill to Li Zixiang's mouth and urged him to eat it quickly. Brat, you only know how to be lazy. You don't understand my old bones at all. Li Zixiang laughed and scolded him. Then he cupped his fists and thanked Li Zhaoyi and Lin. Li Zixiang will remember your kindness in my heart. If you need my help in the future, I will go through fire and water without hesitation. Uncle Li, you're welcome. Take the recovery pill quickly, and then let Master Li Zhaoyi check your injury. Lin Yi also wanted to know if this best recovery pill could cure Li Zixiang. If it still couldn't, then he really had to try it with his omnipotent genuine qi. Li Zixiang nodded and reached out to pick up the recovery pill in Li Ziyu's hand. He threw it directly into his mouth. A cool breath spread out in an instant and flowed down his throat into his abdomen. Then, like a silent spring rain, it quickly moisturized all his meridians. The fire spiritual power that was out of control, and it was collected one by one. And the surface of his body was also recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The original dry and cracked skin slowly closed and healed. Not even a scar was left, and it quickly recovered its elasticity and luster. This kind of unimaginable effect really made people who saw it unconsciously marvel. Just a moment later, Li Zixiang exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and looked at his hands in surprise. It's incredible. It's completely healed. Not only the injury just now, but even the old and hidden injuries from before have completely healed. The best recovery pill is really amazing. Master Li Zhao, Nephew Lin, I, Li Zixiang, will never forget your life-saving grace. Uncle Li, you don't have to be so courteous. We just did what we were supposed to do. Do you still feel uncomfortable now? Seeing that Li Zixiang had recovered, Lin Yi let out a sigh of relief. He gave Zhaoyi a look, signaling her to check on Li Zixiang. Island owner Li, Lin Yi's medical expertise is above mine. It should be safer with him examining you. Li Zhaoyi pointed at Lin Yi with an indifferent expression. Lin Yi didn't know if it was a compliment or a sarcasm. Anyway, Lin Yi felt that this weird girl must be very upset and wanted to embarrass him in this way. Fortunately, the people here were not familiar with Lin Yi. Zheng Dongjue knew that he was not welcomed by Lin Yi, so he did not follow him in. Therefore, only Lin Yi knew about Li Zhaoyi's abnormality. Brother Lin, you're actually a divine doctor? Aren't you hiding your skills a little too well? Furthermore, his alchemy skills were also so formidable. In time, he would definitely become a legendary figure like Pill God Zhang. Amazing! Surprised, Li Ziyu went forward and patted Lin Yi's shoulder. His expression was that of, you're not a good friend, you've kept me in the dark for so long. I can't be compared to the Pill God Doctor. You're too kind, Brother Li. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. He was confident that he could reach his chief master's height in the future, even surpassing him. Of course, he couldn't say that now. Otherwise, who knew what Li Zhaoyi would think? Brother Lin, you're too humble. A genius like you, after Pill God Zhang finds out, he might even take you in as his disciple. Master Li Zhaoyi, do you think I'm right? After Li Ziyu put down his worries, he returned to his cheerful and forthright self. As he spoke, he hinted to Li Zhaoyi to pull some strings for Lin Yi to become Zhang Liju's disciple. As far as Li Ziyu was concerned, as long as Lin Yi could receive Zhang Liju's guidance, his future would be limitless. It would not be a problem at all for him to become the next Pill God Doctor. What he didn't know, however, was that Lin Yi was already Zhang Liju's disciple. He didn't need to worry at all. Li Zhaoyi's expression was calm and unperturbed. She gave a non-committal hum, not knowing what it meant. After all, Li Ziyu and she were only meeting for the second time. It was not appropriate to say much, so she could only skip the topic. Li Zaixiang smiled and cupped his hands at Lin. Since nephew Lin is also a master doctor, then come and check on me. Although I would prefer a beautiful girl like Master Li Zhaoyi to check on me, since it's nephew Lin, I'll reluctantly do it. Old man, can you not be so embarrassing? I still want to go out and meet people in the future. Li Ziyu covered his face with one hand. His expression made Li Zhaoyi laugh. After Li Zaixiang's injuries healed, these two weird father and son started teasing each other again. If you could inherit half of my handsomeness, you'd be able to meet people without worry no matter where you go. You'll feel embarrassed because you're not as handsome as me, and I'll steal your limelight. Son, listen to me. Don't compare handsomeness with me. It'll only make you doubt your life. Li Zaixiang pointed at Li Ziyu and lectured him. The corner of Fire Phoenix's mouth twitched twice. She was completely speechless at this pair of father and son. She turned around and saw Languza's smiling expression as he watched the show. She suddenly extended her hand and flicked this fellow's forehead. Little fellow, your potential is not bad, but your abilities are still lacking. Are you interested in undergoing a special training with me to increase your abilities a little? Me? Languza was dumbfounded as he pointed at his nose. He didn't understand why Fire Phoenix wanted to train him all of a sudden. Fire Phoenix was a spirit beast, and Languza was a sea beast. They didn't have anything to do with each other, right? What was the point of training? It was better to just eat and drink with Boss. He could level up easily, and he didn't have to worry at all. Chapter 60-30. The Fire Phoenix was willing to impart some insights to Languza, mostly because Lin Yi had refined the regeneration pill. This was a very rare opportunity. Languza had no one to guide him along the way. Although Lin Yi could use the high-level sea beast meat in the space of the Jade Pendant to help Languza level up, it was definitely not as beneficial to Languza as the help of the Fire Phoenix. Well then, I'll trouble Senior Fire Phoenix. Languza had always been obedient when the boss spoke, so he immediately expressed his gratitude to the Fire Phoenix. Li Zaixiang, you're in a good state now. I'll take this little guy to cultivate. You guys continue talking. The Fire Phoenix was also a straightforward person. After saying goodbye, she left with Languza. Lin Yi took the opportunity to go forward and check on Li Zaixiang. These were all trivial things, and it was not difficult for him at all. The regeneration pill was indeed powerful. Li Zaixiang's injuries had completely healed, and he was in a much better state than before. Uncle Li, there's no problem. Now that you're healthy, you can go and kill another sea beast. Lin Yi smiled and withdrew his hand. This matter had finally come to an end without any regrets. Li Ziyu's heart was completely relaxed when he heard that his father was fine. There was no need to mention his gratitude towards Lin Yi and Li Zhaoyi. By the way, how could I forget about this? Li Ziyu suddenly patted his forehead, took out a small jade box, and handed it to Lin. Brother Lin, I heard that you wanted this thing, so I wanted to bid for it and give it to you. Now I'll hand it over to you. Is the auction over? Lin was slightly startled, but then he understood. The last day of the auction should have been held the day after the Sea Beast Tide ended. At that time, he and Li Zhaoyi were busy refining pills, so naturally, they could not participate in the auction. Those were all essences. It was a pity to miss it. Fortunately, Lin could basically guess what Li Ziyu had given him, so he didn't beat his chest in regret. He didn't know how many spirit jades were sold for the last 5 soul-tempering pills. Anyway, he had already obtained the spirit gathering branch. The soul-nourishing wood was probably in this jade box. He wasn't going to calculate the spirit jades for the soul-tempering pills. Opening the jade box, there was indeed a piece of black slender wood with a faint light flowing on it. Just holding it in his hand and looking at it, he felt his primordial spirit was incomparably comfortable. Needless to say, this was definitely the soul cultivation wood. Brother Li, you're too kind. This is a gift that I can't refuse, so it would be impolite of me to refuse. Lin, he secretly rejoiced. Fortunately, the news that he wanted the soul cultivation would have spread out. Otherwise, he might have missed the opportunity to obtain the soul cultivation wood. That would be too unfair to that ghost. It's just a small thing. Brother Lin, what you've done for House Li and the extreme North Island is worth 1,000 times more than this small thing. So don't be shy with me. All right, I'll be leaving now. Old man, hurry up and leave. Don't be an eyesore here. Li Ziyu pulled Li Zaixiang with a face of disgust. He thought that this old man really had no eyesight. Couldn't he see that Li Zaixiang didn't need anyone to disturb him now? From what he could see, Lin, he was going to take the opportunity to ask Zhang Liju to be his disciple. Li Zaixiang laughed dryly. For the first time, he didn't refute his son. He quickly left. After everyone had left, the atmosphere in the room suddenly became a little subtle. Li Zhaoyi didn't know if it was because of the previous situation, but her cold and pretty face slowly turned a little red. Lin, he felt a little awkward as well. He wanted to leave with Li Ziyu and the others, but Zhang Liju's whereabouts weren't known yet. No matter what, he couldn't just leave like this. It was related to whether Meng Yao and the others could wake up or not. Little sister, do you think you can tell me where Master is now? After a while, Lin braced himself and broke the awkward atmosphere. You won't be able to find him even if I tell you. Li Zhaoyi's face turned cold as she humphed, not answering Lin directly. Then you have to tell me first. Only then will I know if you really can't find him. Lin, he was going all out. He had to get news of Zhang Liju today. No matter where he was, he had to find him and ask him how to save Meng Yao and the others. He went to another plane. If you think you can find him, then go. Li Zhaoyi's expression returned to normal. She sat down and poured herself a cup of tea, sipping it elegantly. Why would Master go to another plane? Little sister, you're not messing with me, are you? Lin, he looked at Li Zhaoyi suspiciously. He didn't quite believe that it was such a coincidence. Li Zhaoyi evidently understood what he meant. She put down the cup in her hand and said faintly, "It doesn't matter if you believe me or not. I'm telling you anyway." Then which plane did he go to? The common world or the ancient world? Lin, he only knew of these two places. Other than that, he really didn't know what other planes there were. I don't really understand, but it's definitely not some ancient world. I think it's a place called the transit station. I don't know where it is. Have you heard of it? Li Zhaoyi was quite curious about that place as well. She couldn't help but ask Linny about it. Lin, he could only smile bitterly. He had heard of the transit station before. They were everywhere in the common world, but it didn't seem to have anything to do with other planes. Little junior sister, do you know why Master is going there? Lin, he still wanted to find clues from this aspect, but he didn't seem to realize that he was getting more and more comfortable calling Li Zhaoyi little sister. Li Zhaoyi seemed to have gotten used to Lin calling her that. She didn't have any objections at all. I vaguely heard that one of Master's friends asked him to help with something. Right, his friend's name is Yang Ming. Li Zhaoyi nodded affirmatively, indicating that she was absolutely right. Lin, he was inexplicably surprised. His eyes widened in disbelief. He didn't expect to hear news of Master here. Moreover, his master seemed to have a good relationship with his cheat master. In that case, saving Meng Yao and the others shouldn't be a problem. The only problem was that after they went to the transit station, he didn't know how long it would take for them to return. Based on Lin Yi's own experience, it probably wouldn't be a problem for a while. I've told you everything I know. Whether or not you can find them is up to you. But I still advise you not to think too much. Waiting for Master to return is the right way. All right, if there's nothing else, you can go back. I need to rest. Li Zhaoyi stood up and pointed outside, unceremoniously ordering Lin Yi to leave. Chapter 60:31. After casually waving goodbye to Li Zhaoyi, Lin Yi slipped out of the door. After he left, Li Zhaoyi's calm face suddenly changed into a complicated expression. He stomped his feet hard, then closed the door and put up a restriction. When Lin Yi left the pill hall, the first place that came to his mind was Okuda Ba. After the auction ended, He didn't know if Okuda Ba had left. Normally, after the official auction, there would be some spontaneous trade fairs, just like before. However, the situation this time was special. Perhaps not many people would be in the mood to stay. After extending his divine sense, Lin Yi quickly discovered the huge body of the ancient battleship. As expected, it hadn't left the extreme North Island. With Okuda Ba's knowledge, he might be able to solve Lin Yi's problem. Perhaps he might be able to directly bring him to the transit station. Brother Lin, I haven't seen you for the past 2 days. I heard that you were refining elixirs in seclusion. Okuda Ba was supervising the repair of the ancient battleship on the deck. When he saw Lin Yi coming over, he immediately greeted him enthusiastically. Yes, I worked together with Li Zhaoyi to refine the recovery elixir. I finally succeeded in curing Uncle Li. Lin Yi greeted Okuda with a smile. After the beast wave, the two of them had grown closer. Okuda bro, there's something I'd like to ask you. Is this a good time? Okuda bro, what are you saying? This is your home. You can come and find me anytime, anywhere. Why is it inconvenient? Okuda Ba pretended to be unhappy. He then laughed and pulled Lin Yi's arm. Come, my brother Lin. Let's go have a drink and have a good chat. Okay. Oh yes, how's the situation of this battleship? Lin Yi agreed. Seeing the busy crew, he asked casually. Not bad. The repairs and maintenance can almost be completed by today. Although there were some damages in this battle, it's not a big problem. After all, this is an ancient battleship. Okuda Ba waved his hand casually with a proud expression. For a man who was determined to dominate the sea, owning such a top-notch warship was the proudest thing. Hearing Okuda Ba's words, Lin Yi finally felt relieved. After all, many crazy decisions were made by Lin Yi in this battle. If he caused irreparable damage to the ancient battleship, he would feel sorry for Okuda Ba. Brother Lin, after we replenish our supplies today, we can sail back to Nakajima tomorrow. Are you coming with us? Okuda Ba seemed to be in a good mood as he chatted with Lin Yi while walking. Although it was a bit thrilling this time, his fleet did not suffer any damage, and he also obtained the friendship and generous gifts from the extreme North Island. Coupled with his own profits, he earned a lot. Especially after a private conversation with the old manly Lin, he got a promise from him. As long as he didn't violate the Guardian Pact, he would do one thing for Okuda Ba. A promise from a super expert in the sea-splitting stage. Okuda Ba even felt that this was his biggest gain. According to the old manly Lin, he once fought with the old monster of the Okuda family, and he even won. Although this made Okuda Ba feel a little embarrassed, it didn't matter. I still have urgent matters to deal with, so I will leave first. I won't go back with you. Let's meet again in the North Island or Nakajima. Lin, he couldn't wait to go back with the fleet slowly. He had to go back to the North Island to deal with some matters and pay a visit to Shanghai Tianhua first. After that, he rushed back to Nakajima as soon as possible to check on Han Jingjing's situation. He didn't know whether the spirit concentrating branch was effective or not. Fortunately, the soul nurturing wood gave him some confidence. This was indeed a good thing with a well-deserved reputation. After Lin, he sent it into the space of a jade pendant. The ghost was overjoyed and immediately attached its spirit to the soul-nurturing wood. The comfortable feeling of nourishing the spirit was simply indescribable. That's a pity. I want to have a good chat with you on the way back. Okuda Ba looked very regretful and opened the door to let Lin Yi in. After personally pouring a glass of spirit fruit wine and handing it to Lin Yi, Okuda Ba sat comfortably opposite Lin Yi and raised his glass. First, try this spirit fruit wine that I just bought. It's absolutely delicious. It's really good. It seems that I have to buy some too. Lin Yi took a sip and nodded in praise. If you like it, go to the warehouse of the warship and take whatever you want. Being polite to me, you'll make me angry. Don't forget that you're still the vice captain of this warship. Okuda Ba laughed and put down his glass. All right, let's talk about why you're looking for me. Brother Okuda, I wonder if you've heard of this transit station. Lin Yi also put down his glass. His solemn expression showed that this matter was very important to him. I think I've heard of it. This place shouldn't be on Heavenly Island, right? Okuda Ba thought carefully and was a little uncertain. Lin, he was immediately happy. Okuda really knew something. Even if he wasn't very clear, as long as there was a clue, it was a good thing. Brother Okuda, where did you hear about it? I heard it's in another plane. Do you have any impression of it? Lin, he leaned forward subconsciously, telling Okuda the information he knew. What do you think? Lin, he leaned forward subconsciously, telling Okuda everything he knew. If you put it like that, I do have an impression of it, but I don't seem to have much information. I've only heard of this place before, but I can't remember where I heard about it. Okuda was a little annoyed. It was rare for Lin to ask him something, but he couldn't help. Never mind then, I'll go ask someone else. Okuda bro, please help me keep an eye out for news in this area. Lin, he was a little disappointed. He could only ask Okuda to help him gather some information. Brother Lin, don't worry. I'll definitely find a way to find out about this transit station. Maybe when I return to Middle Island, I'll have news for you. Okuda patted his chest. In his opinion, collecting information about a place shouldn't be too difficult. Since he had heard of it before, he should be able to find it now. Then I'll leave it to you, Brother Okuda. I still have to say goodbye to the others. Lin, he finished his glass of wine and stood up to leave. Okuda knew that he had something to do, so he didn't ask him to stay. After giving 2 barrels of spirit fruit wine to Lin, he accompanied him off the ship. Chapter 6032. Since Okuda didn't know about the transfer station, Lin, he could only go to the Leaf family in the extreme north to ask about the situation. After all, it was a family with a deep heritage. Moreover, the extreme North Island was also the most well-informed place. Perhaps they might have some information in this regard. However, before going to the extreme North Island, Lin planned to return to the 5 Elements Commerce's encampment and say hello to Kai Zhongyang, Wei Shinjin, and the others. After that, he would fly directly back to the Central Island and ask them to go back with Okuda. Unexpectedly, Kai Zhongyang and Wei Shinjin were not in the encampment. The people who stayed behind said that they had gone to participate in some kind of trade fair. Since they would return soon, they wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to make some trades. I'm in my room. If they come back, let me know. Lin, he decided to wait for them here for a while. At the same time, he could also check on the flying saucer made by Han Jingjing and then upgrade it with the starry sky, flowing flame gold. After returning to his room, Lin, he took out the flying saucer from the space inside the jade pendant. Because he used the space technology, the flying saucer now looked like a model and looked very exquisite. I wonder what kind of improvement the starry sky, flowing flame gold will bring. I'm looking forward to it. Lin, he muttered to himself and took out the starry sky, flowing flame gold. Lu Dachong was rarely generous and gave all the starry sky, flowing flame gold to Lin Yi. Upgrading the flying saucer didn't require that much. After carefully cutting out about half of the starry sky, flowing flame gold, and putting away the rest, Lin Yi used his true chi to control this liquid-like metal and slowly wrapped it around the flying saucer. The most precious thing about this top-grade material was that it didn't require any additional refining. Moreover, there was no possibility of failure. It would never damage the upgraded item. Therefore, he could use it with ease. Unfortunately, the starry sky flowing flame gold could only be used once. If it could be used repeatedly, it would be heaven-defying. But if that was the case, no one would be stupid enough to auction such a good thing. It was probably the extra starry sky flowing flame gold from the auctioneer. Just like Lin Yi's spirit tempering pill, it was a peerless treasure to others. But in Lin Yi's eyes, it was not much different from a great returning pill. Under Lin Yi's spiritual sense, the starry sky flowing flame gold evenly covered the outer surface of the flying saucer and slowly penetrated it. It slowly fused with the original metal. A faint flame appeared. Lin, he was a little excited as he waited for the fusion to finish. However, after the time it took for an incense stick to burn, he suddenly realized that he had miscalculated. The fusion speed of the cosmic flowing flame gold and the flying saucer was just too slow. It couldn't be said that there was no progress, but it was better than nothing. Although one did not need to understand forging to use the starry sky flowing flame gold, a forging expert would naturally know more about the details. Lin Yi was still lacking in this aspect. Judging from his progress, it would take at least a few days for the flying saucer to completely fuse with the starry sky flowing flame gold. It seemed that his plan to use the flying saucer to fly directly back to the central island would have to be put on hold, because during the fusion process, the flying saucer could not be used at all. Damn it, if I had known this earlier, I would have immediately started fusing with the flying saucer when I obtained the starry sky, flowing flame gold. Now, I can only borrow a flying spirit beast from the Leaf family. Linny did not know whether to laugh or cry. He had wanted to upgrade the flying saucer so that he could go back faster. However, he did not expect the result to be like this, since the fusion of the flying saucer and the starry sky, flowing flame gold, would not end so quickly. Lin Yi no longer wasted time. He first put the flying saucer into his storage bag and let it slowly proceed. Not knowing when Kai Zhongyang and Wei Shinjin would return, Lin Yi left a message for them and then went to find Li Zaixiang. Master Lin, the Island Master and young Island Master are here. Do you need me to lead the way for you? Seeing Lin Yi coming over, the Li family's doorman greeted him warmly, his face full of respect. As a hero who had turned the tide and saved the extreme North Island, Lin Yi's reputation and status in the Li family was not to be trifled with. It was not an exaggeration to say that he was half the owner of this place. For example, right now, he did not even need to report to the Li family. Instead, someone directly led the way. He could go and see whoever he wanted to see. No need. Where is Island Master Li? I have something to talk to him about. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. He was ready to meet Li Zaixiang and then go to Li Ziyu to say goodbye. Island Master is cultivating in the cultivation room. Master Lin can go directly. Hearing that Lin Yi did not need him to lead the way, this fellow felt a little disappointed. It was like a little fan who had missed a chance to get close to his idol. Lin Yi secretly laughed. He did not think much about it. After thanking him, he went to look for Li Zaixiang. It was not the first time he came to the Li family. Of course, he did not have to worry about getting lost. Lin Yi quickly arrived at Li Zaixiang's cultivation room and touched the restriction on the door. If Li Zaixiang was in closed-door cultivation, Lin Yi could not casually disturb him. However, he knew that Li Zaixiang had just taken the recovery pill. At most, he was recovering. Asking a few questions was definitely not a big deal. Nephew Lin, I'm very happy that you can come. Quickly come in and sit. Li Zaixiang came out and saw Lin Yi. Although he was a little surprised, he was more happy. His enthusiasm was not much different from that of the doorman. Sorry for disturbing Uncle's cultivation, Lin Yi said politely. Then, he went straight to the point. This time, I came to find Uncle Li. I want to ask about a place. I don't know if you know about it. You child, don't be polite. This is your home. Why are you saying that you are disturbing me in your own home? If you have something to say, just say it. As long as I know, I will definitely tell you. Li Zaixiang invited Lin Yi in and personally made tea for him. It could be said that he was giving him enough face. It is a place called the Transit Station. It is said to be in another plane. Has Uncle Li heard of it? Lin Yi looked at Li Zaixiang with anticipation. Okuda Ba had vaguely heard about it. Maybe Li Zaixiang would know more? I know. To be exact, the transit station is a place that is connected to several other planes. However, I don't know how to get to this transit station. Why? Do you want to go to the transit station? Then I'm afraid I can't help you. Li Zaixiang was really direct. With a smile on his face, he hit Lin Yi's expectations. Uncle Li, do you know anyone who knows how to get to the transit station? Lin Yi shook his head with a bitter smile as he asked, unwilling to give up. Chapter 6033. Thank you for your concern, Uncle Li. Then, I will leave it to you. Lin Yi thanked him and felt that he shouldn't think about going to the transit station for the time being. Now, his main goal was to improve his strength as soon as possible. Otherwise, when he could go to the transit station, he would only be a hindrance to them. Nephew Lin, you don't have to be so polite. It's just a small matter to inquire about the transit station. It can't be compared with helping us. Don't worry. I will inform you once I have news. Li Zaixiang laughed and patted Lin Yi's shoulder intimately. Then, I will wait for Uncle Li's news with peace of mind. Lin Yi nodded with a smile and greeted Li Zaixiang with a fist salute. Uncle Li, my other purpose of coming here is to say goodbye to you. I would like to borrow a flying spirit beast. The auction in the extreme North Island is over. I have other things to do, so I have to go first. I won't be riding on Brother Okuda's warship. With the relationship between Lin Yi and the Li family, it was a piece of cake to borrow a flying spirit beast. As long as he wanted it, it didn't matter if he gave a few hundred of them. Are you in such a hurry? But in the current situation, it will be very dangerous to use a flying spirit beast to return to the North Island or the Middle Island. You had just made such a big feud with the sea beasts. I think it's better for you to take the ancient warship back. Li Zaixiang was slightly surprised. It wasn't that he was reluctant to part with the flying spirit beast, but he was really worried about Lin Yi. Brother Lin, are you going back? Why are you in such a hurry? I still want you to stay for a while, so that I can take you around the extreme North Island. Before Lin Yi had time to speak, Li Ziyu walked in from the outside. He must have heard that Lin Yi was coming, so he came to meet him. Brat, you have no manners at all. Li Zaixiang scolded with a smile, but obviously he wasn't really angry. Brother Lin is not an outsider. Why do you have to be so polite? Li Ziyu pursed his lips and turned to Lin. Brother Lin, you came to my house, but you didn't come to find me. Instead, you came to find this old man. Could it be that you think that talking to this old man is more interesting than talking to me? Brother Li must be joking. I have something to ask Uncle Li. I was going to look for you later, but I didn't expect you to come. Lin Yi smiled and shook his head. After spending so much time with the father and son, he had gotten used to the way they spoke. It was indeed quite interesting. Brother Lin, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Can't you stay for a little longer? Li Ziyu didn't continue with his nonsense, but he reluctantly asked Lin Yi to stay. Not to mention that Lin Yi had helped him a lot after coming to the extreme North Island. At least Li Ziyu really felt that he and Lin Yi were congenial. As for Langza, Fire Phoenix didn't want to pay attention to him. If it wasn't for giving face to Lin Yi, just because he dared to call Fire Phoenix a firebird, she would have grilled this bastard. Senior Fire Phoenix, thank you for your guidance. I will come again in the future if I have the opportunity. Langza grinned and waved his hand. It seemed that he had tasted the sweetness. He still wanted to look for Fire Phoenix to learn from her again. Fire Phoenix glared at Langza. She really wanted to tell him to quickly get lost. She didn't want to see him again. After a while, Lin Yi and Langza picked two of the fastest flying spirit beasts. After saying goodbye to the Li family, they immediately soared into the sky and flew towards the south. As for Hou Guanqi, Shang Wanyi, and the others, they could only ask Li Ziyu to help them pass a message, and they would meet again later. After leaving the northern island, Langza flew to Lin Yi's side and said carelessly, Boss, why are we riding such slow flying spirit beasts? This speed is not as fast as my swimming speed. Why don't we go into the sea? It will certainly be faster than now. Chapter 6034. According to Lin Yi's estimation, if Langza was given a piece of sea beast meat, he should be able to advance. However, with the guidance of Fire Phoenix, Lin Yi hoped that Langza could break through to the mountain opening stage on his own. This would definitely make a world of difference for his future development. One had to know that the relationship between the mysterious ascension Great Perfection and the mountain opening stage was not only a difference of one level in one big realm, but also the essential difference between the heavenly Tao realm and the giant realm. How to break through. There were too many things to pay attention to. Boss, isn't this too difficult? Isn't it very easy to have a chi deviation when cultivating in the sky? Let's wait until we find a quieter place. Langza also wanted to be able to break through to the mountain opening stage as soon as possible, but this matter really couldn't be rushed. Even if it was just a little bit, it couldn't be done without the heat. Lin Yi frowned slightly. He wasn't dissatisfied with Langza, but he felt that something was wrong. However, When he extended his divine sense to the limit, he didn't find any problems. There was also no warning coming from the space of the jade pendant, which made Lenny wonder if he was a little too sensitive. Boss, what's wrong with you? Okay, I got it. I'll start cultivating now. If I have a chi deviation, remember to save me. Languza didn't notice anything wrong at all and was still talking to himself. No, Languza, you're right. Let's find a quieter place to stay first. He waved his hand and then controlled the flying spirit beast to fly to an isolated island in his divine sense. Languza scratched the back of his head. He didn't know what Lenny was doing, so he could only fly over. At this time, he was already thousands of miles away from the northernmost island, which was already out of the Li clan's control and safety range. If something happened, he couldn't count on anyone to rescue him. When the two of them landed on the island, a flying spirit beast suddenly appeared in Lin Yi's divine sense. On top of it stood two black-clothed and masked cultivators. They were very powerful. The power that was deliberately released, if it was an ordinary profound ascension late stage or profound ascension great perfection, they might not even be able to stand. The two black-robed men gently floated down from their flying spiritual beasts and stood firmly in front of Lin Yi and Mo Wuji. At this moment, Lin Yi finally understood that his intuition was correct. However, he didn't know what method they had used to be able to conceal themselves from his divine sense. Lin Yi, Master Lin, you really live up to your reputation. You were actually able to find our traces and deliberately landed on this small island to wait for us. Your courage is also very admirable. The black-clothed masked man in front smiled and applauded. It was unknown whether he really admired Lin Yi or was mocking Lin Yi. Who are you people? Why are you following me? Lin Yi naturally wouldn't say that he didn't notice the two people following him. He just looked at them with an indifferent expression, as if he had a card up his sleeve. You don't need to know who we are. I just heard that Master Lin had a great harvest in the northernmost island. Why don't you take it out and let us brothers broaden our horizons? The masked man said as he slowly walked forward and stopped 2 steps away from Lin Yi. Robbing? A dignified earth opening intermediate stage expert actually reduced to relying on robbing for a living? Even the follower behind you, a perfected mountain breaker, would be a big shot in any island, wouldn't he? Lin Yi smiled faintly, his eyes sweeping across the two, but his feet didn't move half a step back. At this time, their strength was completely at a disadvantage. They couldn't show weakness in terms of momentum. Otherwise, they would be suppressed to the point where they didn't even have a chance to attack. Hey, your eyesight is really good. You can actually see through our strength, and you don't seem to be afraid at all. It seems that you are very confident that you can defeat us. The masked man who spoke looked very surprised. In fact, he was completely pretending. If Lin Yi still couldn't see through their momentum, then he was really blind. Lin Yi, seeing that you are a high-level alchemist, we can give you a chance to surrender. As long as you swear to join us and cooperate with us to use restrictive methods on you, you can continue to live. Otherwise, today will be the day you die. The masked man at the mountain opening great perfection spoke coldly. His powerful aura was completely revealed, completely enveloping Lin Yi and Languza. The masked man at the earth opening intermediate stage turned around and waved his hand. Aya, you are really boring. Why do you say that? Isn't it good to have a good chat with them? Remember, I am in charge this time. I just don't want to waste time. After all, this place isn't too far from the northernmost island. If the Li family in the northernmost island notices something, it won't take long for them to rush over. You're very clear about the speed of the Fire Phoenix. Unless you think that you can deal with Li Zaixiang and the Fire Phoenix together. Although the guy at the mountain opening great perfection was speaking respectfully, he didn't seem to be afraid. It was unknown what the relationship between these two guys was. Such a talkative guy. I won't bring you out next time. The masked man at the earth opening intermediate stage muttered. Then, he turned to Lin Yi and chuckled. You heard what he said, right? Now there are only 2 choices. Just say whether you want to surrender to us or not. Please say no. Lin Yi was speechless. Of course, He wouldn't surrender to these two guys who were hiding their heads and showing their tails. However, if he really said no, wouldn't it seem like he was being led by the nose by the other party? Boss, these two guys are really annoying. Can I beat them up? Languza rolled up his sleeves unhappily. He was already ready to make a move. As for the fact that the opponent's strength far exceeded his own, he didn't care at all. Anyway, as long as there was a fight, it didn't matter if the opponent was a weak Golden Stage chicken or a sea-splitting Super God opponent. As long as you don't get beaten up by them. He smiled faintly. He was already ready to make a move. Very well. I'll take it as you said no. The masked man at the Earth opening intermediate stage grinned. He raised his hand and grabbed in the air. An invisible pressure suddenly bound Lin, and Languza. Moreover, it was still getting stronger. Languza let out a violent roar. His body emitted a series of cracking sounds, and he actually managed to forcefully break free. Lin, on the other hand, took the opportunity to flash and escape the range of this restraint. Hey, you can actually break free. Are you really not at the mountain opening stage yet? This is incredible. It seems that today will be very interesting. The masked man at the Earth opening intermediate stage looked very excited. He didn't care about the fact that he had broken free. He took a step and caught up with Lin. Chapter 6035. Languza let out a loud roar once again. He did not dodge or evade. Instead, he threw out a punch as well, colliding with the masked man's fist. A terrifying explosion formed a ring of invisible waves that spread into the sea, creating huge waves that were several meters tall. And the result of this exchange was that Languza suffered a slight loss. He staggered back 3 steps, while the opponent's figure only shook slightly. But considering that Languza was only at the Profound Ascension Great Circle, a whole level lower than a masked man, the one who was really shocked was the masked man. Lin couldn't care less about Languza right now. He was about to face a super master in the middle phase of the Earth creation realm, an existence that was almost 2 whole levels stronger than him. Under normal circumstances, this kind of difference was enough to easily kill the weaker party. There was no chance for him to fight back. In fact, the masked man was like a ghost, instantly appeared behind Lin and casually tore his phantom. The 3 Cloud Dragon appearances could not deceive this guy. Every time Lin Yi's phantom appeared, it would definitely be torn apart. Lin even felt that this guy deliberately let him use the 3 Cloud Dragon appearances. Maybe he could directly catch his real body from the beginning. This was like a cat playing with a mouse, playing with him. What was more frightening was that Lin Yi's Divine Sense attack had no effect on this guy. Whether it was the Divine Sense Whirlpool or the Soul Reaping Hand, they were completely ineffective against him. This was a big gap. He is really strong. This is the first time I have encountered such an opponent. This damn guy actually has a Divine Sense defense skill. Today is really troublesome. He was secretly shocked. He was already thinking about how to escape from this guy's hands. He used the lightning escape technique without reservation. He had no choice. The guy at the middle stage of Earth opening could catch him at any time. Only the lightning escape technique could barely deal with him. But that was all. If he wanted to fight back, he would not be able to think about it for the time being. Languza, you take your opponent into the sea to fight, so you can use all your strength. If you really can't beat him, quickly escape. It will not be easy for them to catch you in the sea. As long as you leave, I will have a chance to escape. He constantly used the lightning to dodge, took the time to send a voice transmission to Languza, telling him to quickly go into the sea. If Languza could leave first, he wouldn't have to worry at all. With the help of the lightning evasion, it was still possible for him to escape from the hands of this masked man in the middle phase of the Earth creation realm. Languza usually looked careless and a little simple-minded. In fact, in his heart, he already understood. When Lin said this, he already understood the key, so he did not hesitate, immediately revealed his real body, suddenly attacking the masked man at the peak of mountain opening. In the state of the sea dragon, Languza's strength was a bit stronger, relying on brute force. He actually knocked the guy at the peak of mountain opening away. Although his body was also hit a few times, his incomparably tyrannical body could completely resist this kind of attack, at most suffering some minor injuries. It was not a big deal. Taking advantage of the opponent's unstable footing, Lenguza desperately entangled with him, rolling into the sea with him. After the dragon entered the sea, it had an innate advantage. The originally small gap between the two sides was immediately wiped out. Ha ha ha. It is actually a sea dragon. This subordinate is so stupid. Today is really not a wasted trip. It is really interesting. The masked man who was running after Lin, he actually laughed and clapped. It was unknown what he was thinking, but he seemed to be quite happy to see his companion in trouble. However, Lin Yi's mood became more and more heavy. This masked man still had the energy to pay attention to the other battle, and he could still laugh and clap unscrupulously while chasing, maintaining enough pressure on Lin Yi, clearly not using his full strength. This kind of strength was really too frightening. At the current stage, Lin Yi was not his opponent at all. The lightning escape technique in a small area was always traceable, and the second layer of body lightning manipulation could indeed change direction, but this guy did not need to be faster than Lin Yi. As long as he could grasp a point, he could intercept Lin Yi with half the effort. It was as if Lin Yi was a bird that was constantly circling in the sky, and the masked man was the hunter on the ground. He did not need to run the same distance as Lin Yi. He only needed to adjust the angle of the bow in his hand at any time. Lenguza and the guy at the mountain opening realm were getting farther and farther away, and they were already in a state where they could dive into the deep sea at any time. Lin Yi knew that it was time for him to leave. Otherwise, if this guy became serious, he might not be able to escape. Once he used the lightning escape technique to escape in a straight line, Lin Yi estimated that the masked man should not be able to catch him. Are you thinking of using the lightning escape technique to escape now? That won't do. I haven't played enough. How can you leave? The masked man at the earth opening realm suddenly said with a smile, at the same time throwing out a formation plate. This activated formation plate instantly formed a force field, enveloping the entire island. The moment the formation was formed, Lin Yi suddenly discovered that his lightning escape technique had lost its effect. Not only that, but he could not even release the lightning arcs. Suddenly coming to a stop from his extreme speed, Lin Yi almost lost his balance. Although he was not clear what was going on, he knew that it was because of the formation plate. Perhaps this thing was similar to the space lock restriction escape flag. It was also an auxiliary tool. That wasn't the main point. Lin Yi was more worried that his thoughts had been completely seen through by that bastard. He looked like a psycho, but not only did he have an overwhelming advantage in terms of strength, his intelligence was on the line as well. Oh, I'm really sorry. Within the range of this lightning forbidden formation plate, all thunder attribute martial skills cannot be used. If you want to use the lightning escape technique to escape, you must first run out of the range of this formation plate. But without the lightning escape technique, do you still have a chance to escape? Well, I'm looking forward to it. How about this? I'll give you a chance. I'll count to 3. Let's see whether you can escape or not. Okay? The masked man at the earth opening realm was indeed playing a game of cat and mouse. In his opinion, Lin Yi could be killed at any time, so it was not bad to have some fun before that. But for Lin Yi, the enemy's carelessness was his opportunity. If this guy had gone all out, he would have already died many times. But now, although he was in a difficult situation, at least he was still alive, and as long as he was alive, there would be an opportunity. 3. Lin Yi directly roared. He absolutely could not follow the opponent's rhythm. If he really wanted to escape from the range of the lightning forbidden formation plate within 3 miles, then he would be an idiot. If he wanted to escape, he must first destroy the lightning forbidden formation plate. Chapter 6036. Then he saw Lin Yi's palms each emit a ball of flame, which was immediately put together and thrown towards the location of the forbidden thunder array plate. Super Pill Firebomb. This was one of Lin Yi's strongest attacks. However, the bomb that was condensed in an instant definitely did not have that kind of powerful destructive power. At most, it could only be used to destroy the forbidden thunder array plate. The black-masked man's figure flashed and instantly appeared in the path of the super pill firebomb. He stretched out his right hand and directly grabbed the super pill firebomb. Lin immediately used his divine sense to control and tried to detonate the super pill firebomb. However, the trace of divine sense connection had been completely cut off. For the first time, the big move that Lin threw out was directly caught by someone's hand without any intention of exploding. This bastard was really too strong. The black-masked man glanced at the super pill firebomb in his hand and casually pinched it. The bomb that Lin was unable to detonate suddenly exploded. However, all the power was confined in the palm of this guy's hand, and not even a little bit of it leaked out. This move is not bad. It's a little interesting. If you were a little more powerful, maybe I wouldn't have been able to catch this thing. The black-masked man smiled and lightly clapped his hands. The explosion of the super pill firebomb was completely under his control. It did not cause any damage at all. Lin felt a slight chill in his heart. The strength of the intermediate stage of Earth opening had really exceeded his expectations. In the face of this situation where he was completely suppressed by the opponent, he could only continue to think of possible ways to break out of this situation. Just now, you did not follow the rules, so I will give you a little punishment. Are you ready? It will be a little painful. The black-masked man's voice had not yet faded when his figure appeared next to Lin like a ghost and pointed at his shoulder. Unable to use the lightning escape technique, Lin could only use the extreme butterfly subtle steps and desperately dodge to the side. Fortunately, he had the warning of the space in the jade pendant because he could not clearly see the black-masked man's movements and whereabouts. Not bad. You can still dodge my casual finger. This is interesting. Continue. The masked man in black said in a relaxed manner while following closely behind Lin. Lin could not get rid of this guy, even with the extreme butterfly subtle steps. If they were at the same level of strength, Lin was sure that his butterfly subtle steps would be enough to deal with this bastard. However, the difference in strength between the two of them had made all techniques meaningless. The five-color dragon-shaped, murderous aura of the five elements roared and rushed towards the masked man behind Lin. This was also one of Lin Yi's trump cards, but he didn't expect it to cause any harm to the guy behind him. He only hoped that he could delay the masked man for 1 or 2 breaths of time. Then, he might be able to rush out of the forbidden area of the island. Beautiful, too beautiful. This was a good move, much better than the previous one. I want to change my mind and accept your surrender, the black-masked man shouted excitedly. However, Lin Yi's heart sank to the bottom. This guy's performance was naturally because the dragon-shaped, murderous aura of the five elements did not cause any pressure to him at all. The divine sense attack was ineffective, the alchemy firebomb was ineffective, and the murderous aura of the five elements was ineffective. Lin felt as if he had reached the end of the road, and there was no more means to use. Stupid boy, use the thunder burial. The ghost couldn't stand it anymore. It originally wanted to rest in the soul cultivation wood, but if Lin was finished, the space in the jade pendant would naturally disappear. This forbidden thunder array disc is only a level 5 garbage array disc. It can isolate the thunder element in this range, but your thunder burial can directly communicate with the thunder element between heaven and earth. Only one blow is enough to break this garbage array disc. Lin came to a realization. He really was blinded by the situation. He didn't think this through. It was like an egg. If a chick wanted to break out of its shell, it would need to grow up and have enough strength to do so. But if someone knocked on it from outside, the eggshell would shatter easily. Now the forbidden thunder array disc was that layer of eggshell. Lin was like the egg white and yolk that had not become a chick. As long as enough strength was applied from the outside. In fact, there was no need to destroy the array disc to tear the restriction. Senior Ghost, in the future, you should remind me of this kind of thing earlier. It really can kill me. Lin, he didn't have time to say anything else. He had already started to use the thunder burial. Just as the ghost said, The Thunder Burial was formed by the gathering of the thunder element between heaven and earth. It was not within the range of the forbidden thunder array disk, so it would not be affected at all. In the blink of an eye, the thunder clouds in the sky densely covered the small island. There were constantly lightning arcs shuttling back and forth. The Thunder Burial had not yet been activated, but its momentum was already quite shocking. Why is there suddenly thunder? It seems like I can't continue playing. Master Lin Linny, are you ready to go? The masked man in black had a faint feeling that something was wrong. The power of his attack suddenly doubled. Linny suddenly turned around and pushed out with both hands. In the center of his palms was a new super pill firebomb. Chapter 6037. Lin, he was also inexplicably surprised in his heart. This guy was really too tenacious. He was simultaneously attacked by the super alchemy firebomb and the Thunder Burial, but he was still able to stand. Lin, he once again launched the Thunder Escape technique, but this time he did not want to escape. Instead, he wanted to continue attacking. Such a powerful enemy. If he did not take advantage of this good opportunity to kill him, when he took a breather, the unlucky one would be Lin Yi himself. Even if he could escape this time, how could he escape with so many people around him? Because of the restrictions of the Guardian Convention, the old monsters of the sea-splitting stage would not come out. This kind of earth-opening intermediate stage guy was almost the peak existence of the heavenly stage island. Who could Lin Yi count on to protect the people he cared about? Only himself. The endless thunder arcs brought by the Thunder Burial covered the entire island. If Lin Yi wanted to go to any position, he only needed to think about it. The black masked man did not have the spare energy to say anything else. He was trying his best to dissolve the thunder power that had invaded his body. He did not even have the time to care about the countless scars on the surface of his body caused by the super alchemy firebomb. Lin Yi silently appeared behind this guy, and his palm directly hit the back of his head. He used his strongest 5 elements killing intent. As long as he could hit the target, even if this guy was an expert of the earth-opening intermediate stage, he would not be able to resist this kind of attack, right? The black masked man groaned, and his body suddenly swayed slightly. At the critical moment, he actually avoided the attack on his vital point. Although he had no time to deal with Lin Yi, his terrifying battle instinct still saved his life. Lin Yi did not care that his palm had missed. The Thunder Escape technique was definitely the fastest technique in the world. So what if the black masked man barely managed to dodge it? At the moment when this guy had just dodged, Lin Yi's position had already changed slightly. He did not need to take back his palm that had missed, because he had appeared in a new place. If he directly hit it, the effect would be the same. This time, the masked man could no longer dodge. Although he tried his best to avoid a fatal blow, Lin Yi's palm still landed on his shoulder. Lin Yi didn't care about this result. After all, when the 5 elements killing aura entered his opponent's body, it could also cause a terrifying killing power. Together with the lightning arcs of Thunder Burial, he could definitely let this earth-opening intermediate stage guy experience what it meant to be better off dead than alive. At the same time, Lin Yi also displayed the immortal elixir Fire Divine Awareness Vortex, which began to tear and burn the primordial spirit of the masked man in black. Previously, when he was prepared, this move did not have any effect, but now it was completely different. He wanted to deal with 3 powerful attacks while also taking care of the defense of the primordial spirit, which even a strong man at the middle stage of Earth opening could not do. The soul-hooking hand might not be able to directly affect the masked man, but the consciousness vortex could continuously wear down the masked man's consciousness power, directly affecting his primordial spirit, and in turn, affecting the masked man's resistance to the other attacks. The masked man at the middle stage of Earth opening intermediate stage was already regretting to death. If he could do it again, he would definitely not waste time playing with Lin Yi, but would simply kill him in one move. Who would have thought that a small ant at the peak of Mysterious Ascension late stage could actually force a master at the middle stage of Earth opening intermediate stage to such a dead end? That kind of endless trump card was simply terrifying. Stop! Lenny, let's talk. I will apologize to you and swear that I will never trouble you again. No, I swear that I will follow you. I will be your slave, as long as you stop. The masked man in black was really scared, and even desperately begged for mercy from Lenny. He did not even care about the face of a master at the middle stage of Earth opening intermediate stage. In the face of life and death, even the strongest person would be afraid. But Lin, he would not believe a single word that this guy said. For an enemy that he could not control, if he did not take advantage of the favorable situation to directly kill him, would he be stupid enough to give the opponent a chance to kill him? Lin, he would not make such a low-level mistake. He had relied on this guy's carelessness to turn the tables. Even if he wanted to talk, he would first make this fool lose all ability to resist. What I said is true, I can swear. The masked man in black roared loudly, but the only result was that his ability to resist was once again reduced. Whether it was the lightning arc, the murderous aura of the 5 elements, or the consciousness vortex, they all had an overwhelming advantage. It would only take a few more breaths of time, and this guy would be completely defeated. Lin, he was not satisfied with this. For a person who could multitask, the more powerful moves he had, the more power he could unleash at one time, especially in a situation where he did not need to worry about the consumption of consciousness and chi. Sensing that the defense of the masked man's consciousness had weakened, revealing many gaps and flaws, Lin, he did not hesitate to use the soul hooking hand again, and finally succeeded in pulling out this guy's spirit, leaving only his powerful body lying straight on the ground. Then, it was completely twisted into pieces by the lightning arc and the murderous aura of the 5 elements. Lin Yi's spirit relaxed, and his whole body suddenly felt a little weak. It was not because of the consumption, but because this battle was too thrilling. He was almost completely suppressed by the masked man in black. If it was not for the fact that Lei Zong had exceeded his opponent's expectations and caught him off guard, he did not know how he would have died in the end. Far away in the sea, Languza was still fighting with the masked man in black who was at the full cycle level. He probably didn't see Lin Yi leave, so he didn't plan on diving into the deep sea first. Lin Yi raised his hand and took the storage bag left behind by the guy on the ground. He originally thought that this kind of thing was extremely rare, but now it seemed that it was only for people who were not strong enough. It was not uncommon for powerful experts to have storage bags. The level 5 Forbidden Lightning Array disc had been completely shattered, and Lin Yi was not interested in picking it up. He casually shot out a lightning arc and instantly fled to where Languza and the others were fighting. In just a breath of time, Lin Yi had already flashed crazily dozens of times. The speed of the lightning escape technique was indeed unparalleled. When he appeared in the sky above the battle, the masked man in the peak of the mountain did not immediately notice Lin Yi. Languza, you actually leveled up during the battle. Lin Yi used the method of chi, spurting to temporarily stay in the air, and looked at the battle below in shock. Languza's aura was clearly much stronger, and it was still rising. This was a sign that he had just broken through. How much time had passed? Was it even 2 minutes? Languza had actually broken through to the early stage of the mountain opening so naturally. Lin Yi had never heard of anyone breaking through like this. Chapter 6038. Boss, you've already killed that guy? You're really amazing. As expected of the boss. But you have to leave this to me. Don't fight with me. Languza didn't care about his own advancement at all. Moreover, he wasn't surprised that Lin Yi had killed an expert in the middle stage of the Earth opening realm. It was as if it was a matter of course. The only thing he cared about was that Lin Yi wouldn't steal his opponent again. It was rare for him to be able to use his hands and feet so happily. Moreover, the more he fought, the more he could comprehend the cultivation experience that Fire Phoenix had imparted to him. It was precisely because of this that he suddenly broke through. Originally, when Languza was still at the peak of the mysterious Ascension realm, he was only at a slight disadvantage. Now that he had broken through to the early stage of the mountain opening realm and was in the sea, He could completely suppress this masked man at the peak of the mountain opening realm. Finish the battle quickly and leave him alive. I'll wait for you on the island. Don't attract powerful sea beasts. Lin Yi saw that Languza was gradually gaining the upper hand, and his strength was also getting stronger and stronger, so there was nothing to worry about. After giving some instructions, he used the lightning escape technique to return to the island. Since the boss had given him instructions, Languza didn't dare to be negligent. He attacked with all his strength. Because his strength was still rising, each attack was stronger than the previous one. The masked man in black complained incessantly. If he could escape, he would definitely choose to do so. Unfortunately, he was in the sea. If he wanted to escape from the hands of a sea dragon, he would have to have the lightning escape technique like Lin Yi. Under Languza's indiscriminate bombardment, the masked man at the peak of the mountain opening realm only lasted for 7 or 8 breaths before he was captured alive by an opponent of a much lower level. At the last moment, he had no strength to fight back at all. "Boss, I've caught this guy." Languza returned to the island and transformed back into his human form. He casually threw the dying masked man in front of Lin Yi. Lin Yi grabbed at the air and tore off this guy's mask, revealing a very ordinary middle-aged man's face, the kind that would not be noticed in a crowd. "Speak. Who are you people? Why are you chasing after me?" Lin Yi's spiritual consciousness carefully checked this guy's mouth and determined that there was no poison that could kill him. "Cut the crap. Falling into your hands is also my fate. You can do whatever you want to me, but don't think about getting any information out of my mouth." This guy was very strong-willed. He was obviously beaten miserably by Languza, but he still looked at Lin Yi with a look of disdain. Languza went up and gave him a big slap, sending half of his teeth flying. "Boss is asking you a question, so just answer honestly. Who are you trying to act like a boss? Do you believe that your Grandpa Lon will directly chop you up, steam you, braise you, and throw you into the sea to feed the fish?" Languza scolded and slapped him again. This guy spat out the blood in his mouth and sneered. He turned his head and did not speak again. A dead pig is not afraid of boiling water. "I don't believe that I can't deal with you. Boss, can I use all my strength to beat him up?" Languza was angry. He asked for Lin Yi's instructions as he prepared to go up and beat this guy up. Lin Yi waved his hand and said with a cold face, "It's useless to beat him up. Since he doesn't want to answer, I'll just search his soul." The guy on the ground paled instantly. He wasn't afraid of death, but he could not be afraid of having his soul searched. His only hope now was that Lin Yi wasn't really going to search his soul and was just trying to scare him. But he immediately knew that Lin Yi wasn't joking, because his primordial spirit was being devoured by a powerful primordial spirit, bit by bit. It wasn't fast, but the feeling of fear instantly destroyed his mental defenses. "Wait, stop right now. I'll tell you everything. Stop right now." An expert at the great perfection of the mountain opening realm was so scared that he almost peed his pants. The feeling of his spirit being slowly devoured was far from being able to describe it as a living hell. Those who had not experienced it would definitely not be able to imagine it. "I'll give you one last chance. Speak." Lin Yi smiled faintly and retracted his divine sense. Lin Yi had really only used this move to scare him. If he really devoured it, it would not be easy to digest. As for the soul-searching technique, once it started, it could not be stopped. It was better not to use it easily. "We are from the East Continent's hidden death sect. We came to kill you this time because we received a mission. Actually, we do not have any grudges with you, Master Lin. If you can let me go, I will definitely cancel this mission when I return. I will never cause trouble for Master Lin again." This guy was sweating profusely and panting heavily as he finished speaking. He did not dare to stutter in the slightest, afraid that he would make Lin Yi unhappy. "Hidden Death Sect? Does that mean your sect is an assassin organization? Who issued this mission?" Lin Yi frowned slightly. Why would an assassin organization from the East Continent look for him? If it was someone from Rapid City or Night Moon City who came for revenge, it should not have been so fast. Could it be an assassin from Morningstar City? I really do not know who issued the mission. This is all the sect contact. We are only responsible for carrying out the mission. If Master Lin is willing to let me go, I will definitely investigate this matter for you when I return. I will definitely find out who issued the mission. The guy calmed down and seized the opportunity to plead for himself. How many assassins does your sect have in total? What is the rank of the strongest one? What is your rank? Lin, he did not pay attention to this guy and continued to ask about the situation in the Hidden Death sect. Master Lin, I really do not know about these questions that you are asking. The total number of assassins in the sect is kept secret. My rank is not high enough to know. It is the same for the rank of the strongest assassin. However, I guess there should be a super expert in the sea-splitting stage. This guy looked at Lin E with a bitter smile. This answer was obviously not satisfactory. He could only hope that Lin E would not search his soul or something like that. Seeing that Lin E was indeed frowning, this guy hurriedly continued. The ranks of assassins in our Hidden Death sect are divided according to their strength and the number of completed missions. On the surface, there are 4 ranks: Heaven, Earth, Mystic, and Yellow. In reality, there is an even higher rank of Saint rank assassins. However, very few people know about it. Basically, no Saint rank mission has appeared. The other one and I are both Earth rank assassins. Chapter 6039. If you want to advance to Heaven rank, the minimum requirement is the Earth expansion stage. Then, you have to complete enough missions with a high success rate. The guy that Master Lin killed didn't advance to Heaven rank because he didn't complete enough missions. Thinking about how Lin E had killed an expert in the intermediate stage of the Earth expansion stage, this guy really couldn't muster up any thoughts of resistance. Where is the Hidden Death sect located in the East Continent? Draw me a map. Lin E didn't have the ability to deal with the Hidden Death sect now, but he might not be able to in the future. If these guys were to pester him, he would go to their lair and solve the problem once and for all when he became stronger. Master Lin, I don't know the exact location of the Hidden Death sect. This guy was about to cry. He also wanted to cooperate with Lin E, but he really couldn't answer these questions. We all returned to the headquarters through the teleportation circle, and the teleportation circle is located in a small town in the East Continent. You have to prove that you're from the Hidden Death sect to pass through. I could draw a map for you, Master Lin. In order not to provoke Lin E, this guy wrote and drew on the ground very quickly, drawing the big cities around the town. Basically, he knew the exact location of the town, and then explained in detail how to get to the teleportation circle and the connection method. Lin took a look and remembered it. This Hidden Death sect seemed to be quite mysterious. If they didn't provoke him, he wouldn't bother to make such a powerful enemy. However, if they were to pester him, Lin E would definitely uproot the Hidden Death sect after he became stronger in the future. Master Lin, I've told you everything I know. If you're satisfied, why don't you let me go? This Hidden Death sect assassin raised his head and looked at Lin E carefully, hoping that his cooperation could move him. Although this guy knew that he didn't reveal much information, he still hoped that Lin E would let him go if he was happy. When did I say that I would let you go? You taking the initiative to say it is only to save yourself from the pain of having your soul searched. Now, you can go on your way in peace. Lin E glanced at the assassin indifferently. He would never let this guy go and find more assassins to deal with him. In the past, Lin E had also been an assassin. Of course, he knew that failing the mission would only cause more and more powerful assassins to continue the mission. However, if these 2 assassins were to disappear, there would at least be a buffer time for Lin E to prepare before the Hidden Death sect could confirm the situation. The assassin was slightly startled, but he didn't continue to beg for mercy. He didn't care about his life or death. As long as he didn't suffer the pain of having his soul searched, he didn't care if he died. Lin E raised his hand and waved. The soul-reaping hand sucked his primordial spirit into the space within the jade pendant. At the same time, he also took this guy's storage bag. He used his divine sense to sweep through it. Apart from the spirit jade card and some spirit jades, there were only some healing and recovery pills. There was nothing particularly precious. Languza, this storage bag is for you. It's your spoils of war. It will be more convenient for you to bring food in the future. Lin, he put some Spirit J cards and a few pieces of Earth Opening Stage Sea Beast meat into it. Then, he threw the storage bag to Languza. Languza, of course, wouldn't stand on ceremony with Lin E. He thanked him with a chuckle and put the storage bag away. Boss, what should we do now? Should we rest here or continue on our way? Languza looked around. After this island was ravaged by the Thunder Burial, it had become dilapidated. However, there was no problem for him to rest. Most importantly, because of the great battle earlier, no one knew where those few flying spiritual beasts had flown to. If they wanted to continue on their journey, they could only let Languza transform back into his true form and travel through the sea. In this way, it was only right for them to rest a little. You should stabilize your strength first. Then we will go. Lin didn't want to stay any longer. However, Languza had just broken through. It would be too hasty if they hurried on their way. Languza, of course, didn't have any objection. He immediately sat down cross-legged and began to cultivate. After half an hour, he finished stabilizing his strength after breaking through. Then, he jumped up from the ground. Boss, let's go, Languza said, and changed back to his real body. Then he directly fell into the sea. Lin, he jumped on Languza's back. After identifying the direction, he finally set foot on the way back. Boss, I didn't say anything wrong, right? My speed is much faster than those two stupid birds. If I had carried you back earlier, maybe we wouldn't have met those two killers. After Languza's breakthrough, his speed had greatly improved. Compared to the previous two flying spirit beasts, he was at least twice faster. It was no wonder that he began to boast. Don't attract the attention of the Earth Opening Stage sea beasts. We have many more enemies in the sea than on land. Lin, he didn't dare to have the slightest carelessness. He spread out his divine sense to the limit. Although Lin, he had killed many powerful sea beasts in the war on the extreme North Island, if he really encountered an Earth Opening Stage sea beast in this place, it would be more dangerous than the two killers of the Hidden Death sect. After moving forward for thousands of miles, Lin Yi's divine sense found another flying spirit beast chasing them. Its speed was even faster than Languza. Chapter 6040. When this guy realized that the situation wasn't right, he immediately left, so Lin, he didn't care. Lin, he didn't expect him to be among the people chasing him. Lin, he had never seen the other person on the flying spirit beast before. His strength seemed to be around the mountain opening consummation. Two mountain opening stage cultivators. You're really looking down on me. Boss, can you hand them over to me? Languza's consciousness wasn't any weaker than Lin Yi's at all, so he had already seen through his opponent's strength. He immediately wanted to pull both of them into his hands. Beating them up like that would be the best way to enjoy it. The flying spirit beasts they're riding are also at the mountain opening stage. Don't underestimate your opponents. After seeing the power of the Earth opening stage, Lin, he really didn't have any fear for the mountain opening stage cultivators. Especially since Languza's strength could easily defeat a mountain opening stage cultivator, there was even less to worry about. I don't know if flying spirit beasts taste good. Boss, do you want to try barbecuing flying spirit beasts? Languza laughed and didn't care about the pursuers behind him at all. Isn't it just 3 mountain opening stage cultivators? What's so great about it? Fighting is only interesting when there are many opponents. After Lin Yi and Languza consciously slowed down, the flying spirit beasts quickly caught up and blocked in front of them. As expected, Lin Yi's premonition was right. They were coming for him. Good dogs don't block the way. Or the two of you. How dare you stop me and my boss? Languza roared. He was already itching to fight at the slightest disagreement. Master Lin, I'm sorry for disturbing you. Please forgive me. The flying spirit beasts hovered half a meter above the sea, and their flapping wings created waves. The mountain opening stage cultivator in front smiled and greeted Lin Yi with his fist cupped. He didn't seem to have any evil intentions. Languza was secretly unhappy. Aren't they here to fight? Isn't that a waste of my feelings? They're really asking for a beating. Who are you two? What business do you have with me? As the saying goes, one does not hit a smiling person. Since the other party was polite, Lin he could only smile and cup his fists. We're from the blissful valley of the East Continent. I'm Hao Zili, and this is Min Hui-chen. With a smile on his face, Hao Zili introduced himself and Min Hui-chen, who had chased after Lin Yi. For now, the two of them did not show any hostility at all. It was as if they were old friends who had come to send Lin Yi off. However, in reality, as Lin Yi, he had never seen the two of them face to face. He had only seen Min Hui-chen as Mu Shuang. Originally, when we were on the extreme North Island, we wanted to visit Master Lin. Unfortunately, you had been refining pills in seclusion with Master Li Zhao. When we finally came out, we heard that you had left the extreme North Island, so we could only chase after you. Fortunately, we didn't miss Master Lin. When Hao Zili saw that Lin he didn't speak, he explained the reason for chasing after him. However, he still didn't say why he was looking for Lin Yi. Cut the crap. Can't you see that boss and I are in a hurry? Lang Guza raised his body impatiently and flew above the flying spirit beast that was hovering above the sea. He was not used to being looked down upon by someone from a high position. Hao Zili didn't care. He still maintained a polite but alienated smile. He nodded slightly to Lang Guza and continued. I want to discuss something with Master Lin. Although it's not very formal to talk about it here, we have no choice but to make do with it. Mr. Hao, if you have something to say, please say it. We don't have much time. Lin he smiled slightly. He wondered if Hao Zili wanted to ask him to refine pills. If it was just to refine pills, it was not impossible to discuss. Seeing that their flying spirit beasts were extremely fast, they could go to the extreme North Island first. It was not a problem to save time to refine pills. Then I won't stand on ceremony. This time, we're here to ask Master Lin to part with the God-gathering branch that you've obtained. As for the price, we won't let you lose out. Hao Zili looked at Lin Yi with a smile, but there was a hint of murderous intent in his words. Lin Yi's face turned cold. The God-gathering branch was what he used to save Han Jingjing. How dare these two bastards want it? But the problem was, how did they know that the God-gathering branch was in Lin Yi's hands? With the special nature of the mortal world phenomenon, Mu Shuang's identity would never be seen through by two people at the mountain opening period. You two seem to have made a mistake. Although I also won the God-gathering branch, I didn't get it. You seem to have found the wrong person to trade with me. Lin Yi looked calm, but he was ready to fight. Since these two people from Bliss Valley came to him directly, they were basically sure that Mu Shuang was Lin Yi. Otherwise, they would not easily offend an advanced alchemist of the profound stage, second level. Master Lin, we don't lie in front of real people. Whether the God-gathering branch is in your hands or not, we all have a tacit understanding. Now we are willing to pay a higher price than the auction, which is enough to show our sincerity. Hao Zili still maintained that hypocritical smile, but his words were no longer as polite as before. Master Lin, are you wondering why we know that Mu Shuang is you? Min Hui-chen, who had been silent all this time, suddenly interrupted. In fact, it's very simple. The day before, you just bid for the mortal world phenomenon, and then the next day, a Mu Shuang that no one knows appeared. Mu Shuang, Lin, what an obvious hint, right? In addition, although Master Lin removed the divine sense imprint that I left, the spirit-tempering pill that you went to the auction house to auction is still recorded. In the entire Northern Island, except for Li Zhaoyi and you, Lin Yi, who else can refine the spirit-tempering pill? Lin Yi was speechless. This was indeed a loophole. When he left the Northern Island, he did not go to the auction house to settle the auction price of the spirit-tempering pill. On the one hand, he did not lack the spirit jades, and, on the other hand, he did not want to expose his relationship with Mu Shuang. He did not expect that in the eyes of those with ulterior motives, the seemingly rigorous plan was simply full of loopholes. But it didn't matter. Anyway, the God-gathering branch was in his hands. Even if others knew that Mu Shuang was Lin Yi, so what? It was just two mountain opening stage, Languza felt that there were too few opponents to satisfy him. I don't know what you were talking about. Get out of the way, don't hinder me. Although Lin, he was not afraid of these two guys. He did not need to make enemies everywhere, not to mention that they had not taken the initiative to make a move. Chapter 6041. Boss, what exactly is the Blissful Valley? A high-class latrine pit? That's a good way to put it. Every time I eat too much, my stomach hurts. After I excrete, I feel extremely happy. In short, it's called blissful. That's what you mean, right? The reason why Languza deliberately humiliated the Blissful Valley was not only because he couldn't stand Hao Zili's pretentious act, but also because he wanted to provoke the other party so that he could start the fight quickly. Lin, he secretly laughed. Did Languza have a time when he ate too much? There was never a time when he had enough. You're courting death. Hao Zili's face darkened. He put away his hypocritical smile and raised his hand to punch Languza. A mere early-stage sea serpent dragon. Did he think that he was invincible in the sea? There were two of them and a flying spirit beast here. None of them were weaker than Languza. If Hao Zili knew that two of the Hidden Death Sect's Earth-grade assassins had been killed by Lin, Yi, and Languza not long ago, he probably wouldn't have had the thought of fighting. Languza, I'll leave it to you. Same rules, finish it quickly. Lin, he smiled faintly. His eyes revealed a hint of coldness. Since the other party had made a move, there was no need to be polite. Boss, don't worry. Leave it to me. Languza roared excitedly. He finally got what he wanted. He could finally show off his skills. Lin, he tapped his feet and leaped into the air. He let Languza display his strength to his heart's content. He only needed to support Languza from the side. Hao Zili's fist was blocked in midair by a condensed ball of water. Amidst the loud explosion, Languza's huge head passed through the splashing water and appeared in front of Hao Zili in an instant. The flying spirit beast let out a shrill cry and flapped its wings. In an instant, it rose several feet and barely avoided Languza's sudden attack. If it wasn't for the advantage of speed, this flying spirit beast and Hao Zili would have been slapped into the sea by Languza. How is this possible? It's actually so powerful. Hao Zili was shocked. Although his fist had defeated Languza's ball of water, it was still faintly numb. It could be seen that Languza's fighting strength was not inferior to his. Min Huichun had originally wanted to attack Lin Yi, who was in midair. Now that the situation was bad, she could only team up with Hao Zili to deal with Languza. Amidst the sonorous dragon roar, countless water pillars soared into the sky, forming a huge cage that constantly suppressed the space that Hao Zili and the others could move in. In just a breath's time, the flying-type spirit beast was already in a sorry state. If Hao Zili and Min Huichun had not joined hands to block the many water pillars, perhaps it would have been hit by Languza's water pillar cage. When did Languza learn this move? You're really quite powerful. Lin, he was secretly surprised. His body used true chi ejection to fly far away. He casually found a box from the space in the jade pendant and threw it into the sea. Then, he lightly landed on it. The situation in the water pillar cage could no longer be seen with the naked eye. Fortunately, Lin Yi's divine sense could still clearly feel all the changes. With Languza's strength, although he currently had some advantage, he could not immediately turn it into a victory. In reality, the reason why Languza was able to gain the upper hand was mostly because of his home ground in the ocean and this unexpected move. In terms of true combat power, he was still far from being able to suppress 3 mountain opening stage powerhouses at the same time. Ha! Do you know how powerful your Uncle Lon is now? There are even more powerful ones coming soon. Take this. Lin could hear Languza's complacent laughter from afar. It seemed like this guy was rather satisfied with the fight. Moreover, during the fight, Languza's aura was clearly gradually increasing. Previously on the small island, Languza had only initially stabilized his cultivation after advancing. It seemed like he had not completely digested the knowledge that the Fire Phoenix had passed on to him. Now, through the intense battle, Languza's strength was further increasing. Perhaps there was not much hope for him to increase another level and break through to the peak of the early mountain opening stage. But at least he could completely stabilize his strength at the early mountain opening stage and have the opportunity to improve further at any time. As for the intense battle in the water pillar cage, Lin Yi did not pay much attention to it. After confirming that Languza could handle it, he released most of his divine sense to monitor the movements in the surrounding sea. After all, this was the territory of the sea beasts. The shockwaves from the battle could very likely attract the attention of the sea beasts. Reality proved that Lin Yi's worries were not unfounded. In just a short period of time, there was already a sea beast rapidly approaching them. Moreover, its strength was not low, reaching the peak of the mid-mountain opening stage. Once the sea beast discovered Lin Yi and Languza, they would probably have a lot of trouble for the rest of their journey unless they killed the sea beast quickly. However, Lin Yi was not sure if there were other sea beasts rushing over. After all, the ocean had many sea beasts. No matter what, Lin Yi did not wish for the appearance of the sea beast to disturb Languza's rapid increase in strength. Thus, he jumped lightly and put away the box in the water. Then, he shot out a bolt of lightning towards the sea beast. After a few flashes, Lin Yi and the sea beast at the peak of the mid-mountain opening stage collided head-on. The flames of the wild 8-trigram palm exploded. The sea beast at the peak of the mid-mountain opening stage revealed a faint look of disdain. Chapter 6042. Human Ants. There is no place for you to survive in the ocean. The sea beast mocked, but in the next moment, it was unable to continue. Endless flames instantly spread across the surface of the 10-meter-tall wave. The closer it got to Lin Yi's body, the weaker the wave became. In the end, it completely dissipated, leaving only a large amount of dense fog drifting with the wind. Lin Yi's momentum did not change. The sea beast's attack did not hinder him at all, and the power of the frenzied fire 8-trigrams palm also rose to the extreme. There was no loud bang. Because it misjudged Lin Yi's strength, the sea beast did not even have time to react. It watched as Lin Yi's palm landed on its forehead. The violent flames did not erupt immediately, but completely entered its body like a tide. If it was a normal fire-type martial art, not to mention entering its body, it would be completely extinguished when it landed on its skin. However, Lin Yi's frenzied fire 8-trigrams palm was obviously not as simple as it looked on the surface. When the sea beast realized that it was too careless, it was already too late to turn back. The violent flames burned the meridians in the sea beast's body. A powerful existence at the peak of the mid-mountain opening stage was like an ant in front of Lin Yi. It could not even block one move and died. Lin Yi let out a breath of impure air. He was quite satisfied. The frenzied fire 8-trigrams palm was a martial arts skill that he was very comfortable with. Previously, he felt that it was a little useless when facing opponents of a higher level than him. But now, its power did not feel like it was a waste to abandon it. Lin Yi did not let go of the mid-mountain opening stage sea beast corpse. He directly stored it in the space of the jade pendant. After all, if he left it alone, it would only attract more sea beasts. Lin Yi's divine sense swept back to Languza's side. The water pillar cage was still trapping Hao Zili and the others. However, the two of them and the flying spiritual beast were all experts after all. After a short panic, they had now stabilized their position and were evenly matched with Languza. Looks like there's no way to determine the winner in a short period of time. Languza's strength has also increased to the limit. Lin Yi calculated in his heart. Continuing to stay here was obviously more harmful than beneficial. It was time to break the balance between the two sides. Languza, we need to leave immediately. Put in more effort to kill them. Amidst the flickering lightning arcs, Lin Yi once again returned to the edge of the battle. He raised his hand and sent a dozen or so lightning arcs as thick as an arm into the water pillar cage. These lightning arcs were not enough to cause fatal damage, but if they came into contact with even the slightest bit of them, they would definitely cause numbness and slow down the other party's movements. It was perfect for breaking a stalemate. Boss, I'm sorry, I couldn't finish the battle quickly. When Languza saw Lin helping out, he immediately felt a little ashamed. He said that he would be able to finish this quickly by himself. But in the end, he still had to ask his boss for help. How could he have the face to ask for a fight in the future? With this thought in mind, Languza exploded with 120% of his strength. With the help of Lin Yi's lightning arcs, he instantly controlled the situation. Hao Zili and Min Huichan were instantly flustered and looked extremely flustered. Stop! Master Lin, please stop. This time, it's our fault. Please forgive us for offending you. Hao Zili, who was trembling in fear, hurriedly opened his mouth to beg for peace. He completely forgot how arrogant he had been previously. Master Lin, the Paradise Valley is willing to become friends with Master Lin. We don't have any deep hatred between us. It's really just a misunderstanding. As soon as Hao Zili admitted defeat, Min Huichan also hurriedly admitted defeat. It was not easy to cultivate to the mountain opening stage. There was no need to lose her life for some insignificant matters in face. The spirit gathering branch was good, but one needed to be alive to use it. Languza did not care about these two fellows admitting defeat. As long as Boss did not say anything, he would continue to fight until he killed them. Stop resisting immediately, or I will kill you. Lin appeared beside Languza like a ghost and looked coldly at Hao Zili and Min Huichan. If it was not for the fact that he had sensed two more sea beasts approaching at high speed, Lin would definitely not have stopped. Since more and more sea beasts had noticed the fluctuations of the battle here, it was really not suitable for them to continue staying here. Hao Zili and Min Huichan felt a chill in their hearts. After looking at each other, they obediently stopped resisting. Languza alone was enough to fight against them. With the addition of Lin if they did not surrender, they would only last for a few breaths at most. Lin flipped his hand and took out 3 black elixirs. These were poisons that he had casually refined when he was practicing, and they were suitable to control those who were afraid of death. Eat this poison. As long as I am satisfied with your performance, I will naturally give you the antidote. Lin bluntly told them that this was poison. If they wanted to live, they had no choice. Hao Zili and Min Huichan looked at each other again and saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. People under the eaves had no choice but to lower their heads. If they wanted to live, they had to first hand over their lives. Both of them were considered to be decisive people. They knew that they could not resist, so they simply took the poison elixirs and swallowed them. The flying spirit beast also ate one. Languza, get on the flying spirit beast. Lin called out and was the first to jump on the flying spirit beast. Languza immediately transformed into his human form and jumped on the flying spirit beast. The back of this mountain opening spirit beast was quite spacious. It was more than enough for 4 people to ride on it. This was also one of the reasons why Lin did not continue to kill them. With the flying spirit beast, it would be easier to get rid of the sea beasts. Go! In Lin Yi's divine sense, it was no longer just 2 sea beasts approaching, but more than a dozen. If they did not leave quickly, their whereabouts would be completely exposed. Hao Zili felt aggrieved, but he did not dare to show any expression. He hurriedly signaled the flying spirit beast to follow Lin Yi's instructions. The poison was not a joke. As soon as it was swallowed, it could feel the power of it. The flying spirit beast let out a low cry, flapped its wings, and quickly flew south. Although there were 2 more people, it did not affect its speed. After a while, the sea beast that had gathered had completely disappeared from the range of Lin Yi's consciousness. Some of the sea beasts they met along the way weren't interested in flying spirit beasts during the mountain opening period, and so the journey to the North Island had been smooth and uneventful. Although Lin Yi was anxious to return to the Middle Island, since he had come to the North Island on the way, he had to stay for a while to visit Shanghai Tianhua, find a ragged king to refine the Go Speed Wings, and see if he could speed up the fusion of the starry sky flowing flame gold with the flying saucer. Chapter 6043. Master Lin, do you think we can follow you around? It'll be easier for us to listen to your teachings. We're not in a rush to go back to Dongzhou anyways. Since you have this plan, just bring us along when the time comes. Hao Zili smiled carefully, hoping that Master Lin would allow them to stay. The poison was so powerful. If Lin Yi didn't go to the East Continent within a year, they would be poisoned to death. Who could they blame then? Even if Lin Yi really went to the East Continent, who knew whether he could find them or not? Therefore, the safest way was to follow Lin Yi closely. Senior brother Hao is right. We're willing to follow Master Lin. We can run errands and do chores for you. We'll definitely do it well for Master Lin. Min Huichun also expressed her opinion. She and Hao Zili had the same idea. They had to follow Lin Yi no matter what. If they stayed in front of Lin Yi every day, maybe they could detoxify them when they were in a good mood. Go back to the East Continent? They couldn't find anyone to help them. Lin Yi scratched his head. He really didn't want to take these two followers. He spared their lives because he wanted a flying spirit beast that could move fast to leave the place quickly. However, on second thought, he felt it was not bad to have these two experts in the mountain opening stage as followers. He didn't need to worry about many things, and he had enough manpower and ability to complete them. Well, since you want to follow me, then follow me. But now you have to wait here obediently. You're not allowed to step into the North Island. Do you understand me? Without much hesitation, Lin Yi arranged for the two people and the flying spirit beast to wait for him on the beach. Then they would go back to the middle island together. Don't worry, Master Lin. We won't run around. We'll wait here. Hao Zili and Min Huichun bowed respectfully. They were satisfied to stay. As for the antidote, they would get it eventually. Since Lin Yi didn't want them to follow him to the North Island, they could stay here. Anyway, there was nothing to visit in a remote place like the North Island. That's right. In the eyes of the East Continent, the North Island was a remote place. The density of spiritual qi and the average level of strength were not worth mentioning. That was to say, the leader of the sky-reaching pavilion, Shanghai Tianhua, was a great figure. When Lin Yi returned to the North Island, the first person he wanted to visit was Tianhua, and he would like to inquire about Shanghai Laner's departure time. In the reception hall of the sky-reaching pavilion, a young disciple stood respectfully beside Lin Yi and said, "Senior brother Lin, I'm sorry. The leader and the lady are meeting guests now. It's not convenient for them to see you now. If you have time tonight, the leader would like to invite you over for a chat." Although Lin Yi was a disciple of the Blue Cloud Pavilion, he was like a legend among the younger generation of the whole North Island. His reputation was almost as high as that of Ram Jiev, a law enforcement hall. Therefore, this disciple dared not to slight Lin Yi. "Since the leader is not free, I'll visit again tonight. Thank you for informing me, junior brother." Lin Yi stood up and slightly cupped his fist at the disciple of the sky-reaching pavilion. Then, he left the pavilion with Languza. "Big brother, is this so-called leader very powerful? I can't even meet him." Languza muttered with slight displeasure. In his mind, no one in the world was as powerful as his big brother. Now that his big brother came to visit in person, he was rejected at the door. It was ridiculous. "Don't talk nonsense. Pavilion leader Shangwan is my respected elder. He's busy every day, so it's normal that he can't leave for a while. Didn't you hear that he'll be free at night?" Lin Yi glared at Languza. This guy sometimes spoke without thinking. It didn't matter if he offended someone unrelated to him, but it was not good to offend someone he respected. Languza shrank his head and laughed awkwardly. He immediately admitted his mistake. "So he's the big brother's elder. Then he's my elder, Languza. We'll visit again tonight. I wonder if he'll treat us to dinner or something." Just now in the reception hall, Languza had some tea and pastries from the sky-reaching pavilion. He felt that they tasted good, so he was already thinking about dinner. As for this foodie, Lin Yi chose to ignore him. He then directly rushed to the cave where the king of junk was forging. The guy was most likely beside the forging pool. The two of them were extremely fast. After a short while, they arrived at the cave. Lin Yi led Languza through the restriction formation with ease. After scanning with his divine sense, he found that the king of junk was indeed inside, staring at the forging pool. Brother Lin, you're back. The king of junk would sense someone passing through the restriction formation. When he came out and saw that it was Lin Yi, he was immediately overjoyed. We haven't seen each other for a few days. Do you need to be so enthusiastic? Lin Yi smiled and pointed at Languza. This is my new little brother. His name is Languza. Nice to meet you. I'm Wang Lampa. Brother Lan. You can call me the king of junk. Everyone calls me that. The king of junk hurriedly greeted Languza with his fists cupped. Those who could follow Lin Yi were all his people, so there was no need to be too polite. You look like a nice guy. Just call me Languza. If anyone dares to bully you in the future, just come to me. I'll help you beat them up. Languza patted his chest hard. He did not forget to find a potential fight opportunity for himself. Okay. The king of junk did not know how to answer at that moment. He could only agree vaguely. Chapter 6044. Although the space of the jade pendant could be used as a supplement, it would take some time to convert the true chi into physical strength, and there would be a cooling period in between. With the ghostly speed wings, it would be a perfect supplement and connection. The effect was not as simple as 1 + 1 = 2. The ghostly speed wings can be refined in a few days. Precisely speaking, about 5 days. Brother Lin, if you're in a hurry, I can speed it up and try to finish it in 3 days. The king of junk estimated in his mind and gave a time that Lin Yi was satisfied with. He could get the ghostly speed wings in 3 to 5 days. What was there to be dissatisfied about? Didn't you see that the lump in the casting pool was already 2 to 3 years old? Don't worry, take your time. We are after perfection. Lin Yi waved his hand with a smile. It made no difference to him whether it was 3 or 5 days. He had to go back to the Middle Island, and it was unrealistic to stay here for a few days. When Lin Yi came back from the Middle Island, the ghostly speed wings would have been completed. He could use them when he went to the East Continent. Haha, Brother Lin is right. We are after perfection. The king of junk laughed. Lin Yi's words were exactly what he was thinking. If it was not for perfection, how could Wang Lampa get the title of the king of junk with his skill in forging? It was a great fortune to have a confidant like Lin Yi, even if there was only one. Brother Lin, I will start my seclusion to refine the ghostly speed wings now. Come to me in a few days, and I will definitely give you a perfect pair of wings. The king of junk was ready to start work immediately. Wait, there's no rush. I just got here, and you're telling me to leave already, Wang Bro? Lin Yi looked at the king of junk, amused. Crafting addicts were a perfect description for this guy. No. Brother Lin, you can stay if you want. I might be able to speed up the process with your help. The king of junk waved his hand to show that he had no intention of leaving. However, he still wanted to start refining the ghostly speed wings immediately. Hey, king of junk, you asked my boss to stay. Are you trying to drive me away? Languza was not stupid. He immediately grasped what he thought was the key point. The king of junk looked at Languza and grinned, but didn't say anything. Hey, Junk King, I thought you were a nice guy just now. Was I wrong? Languza pretended to be unhappy, but immediately winked at the king of rags. The two looked at each other and burst into laughter. Lin Yi had to admit that he was no match for Languza when it came to his ability to be familiar with people. All right, Languza, stop messing around. I still have things to talk to Brother Wang. Lin Yi scolded with a smile before taking out the flying saucer wrapped in starry sky, flowing flame gold, and handing it to the Ragged King. This is the starry sky, flowing flame gold. The Ragged King's eyes immediately lit up. He took the flying saucer and looked at it fondly. Brother Wang has good eyesight. I want to know how long it will take to fuse with this starry sky, flowing flame gold. Can you speed it up? Lin Yi pointed at the flying saucer and looked at the Ragged King with some expectation. As long as the flying saucer could finish fusing with the starry sky, flowing flame gold quickly, Lin Yi would be able to come and go much faster. Did this flying tool come from Miss Han's hands? It's very similar to her style. It's really a wonderful work. In terms of forging, Miss Han's talent might even surpass mine. The Ragged King sighed before looking up at Lin and nodding. Brother Lin, you used too much starry sky, flowing flame gold. As the saying goes, too much is as bad as not enough. That's why it slowed down the progress of the fusion. Otherwise, with the current situation, the fusion should have been completed by now. Too much. Lin, he felt slightly startled. He hadn't expected such a reason. Fortunately, he hadn't used all of the starry sky, flowing flame gold. Even half of it was too much. God knows how long it would take to fuse with all of it. It's not difficult to finish the fusion as soon as possible. Just give me some time. I'll peel off the excess starry sky, flowing flame gold. It should take about an hour. However, I hope Brother Lin can give me the stripped starry sky, flowing flame gold. I can add a bit to the Go Speed wings to increase its speed. The Ragged King loved the flying saucer in his hands and didn't even look at Lin when he spoke. No problem. If you don't have enough starry sky, flowing flame gold, I still have more. Lin naturally agreed. What reason did he have to refuse such a good thing? Thinking that he would be able to use the upgraded flying saucer in an hour, Lin couldn't help but feel excited. In the future, he wouldn't need to ride a flying beast or a battleship to travel between the islands. It would be much more convenient to use this flying saucer. It's enough. I've calculated it. There's enough excess here. If I need more, I'll ask you. The Ragged King waved his hand. There was no need to be polite between him and Lin. As long as it was useful for forging, he wouldn't hesitate to give it to him, no matter how precious it was. Brother Wong, can you see if these two masks can be fused together? Lin took out the worldly phenomenon and 1,000 silk mask and handed them to the Ragged King. The 1,000 silk mask was the mask that Lin used to use in the past. However, as his strength increased, the opponents he encountered also became more and more powerful. As a result, the weakness of this mask became more and more obvious. For cultivators at the Profound Ascension stage and Mountain Opening stage, this mask basically lost its purpose as a disguise. Therefore, he decided to bid for the worldly phenomenon. However, after obtaining the worldly phenomenon, Lin didn't want to throw away the 1,000 silk mask. If he could fuse them together and add a familiar face to the worldly phenomenon, it would also be a good thing. This mask is quite exquisite. It's a good quality product. Brother Lin, it should be enough for you, right? Fusing them together may not have a good result. Why bother to fuse them together? The Ragged King carefully put down the flying saucer and compared the two masks. He looked at Lin strangely. The function of the worldly phenomenon was enough for Lin to use until the Earth Opening stage. Fusing the 1,000 silk mask with it might not necessarily have any improvement. On the contrary, the failure of the fusion would lead to some very bad results. I'm just used to using the 1,000 silk mask. I don't really want to throw it away. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Lin shrugged. It was good to keep the 1,000 silk mask as a pure souvenir. I didn't say it doesn't work. It's just two masks. Don't worry, leave it to me. The Ragged King laughed and patted his chest confidently. He put away the two masks and said, I can give you both the mask and the flying tool tonight. If there's anything else, take them out. Perhaps they had calculated the time when Lin would board the ancient battleship to arrive at the northern island, but they did not expect that he would leave the northern island in advance by flying Spirit Beast alone. Although it was a pity, Lin didn't care too much about it. After all, it hadn't been many days since he came to the North Island last time, and he would come back soon after going back to Middle Island. He didn't have to worry about not having a chance to meet her. Boss, what should we do now? Are we just going to wait here until it gets dark? Languza asked in a muffled voice as he chewed. Lin scratched his head, thinking that if he had known this earlier, he would have helped the King of Rags set up the flying saucer and the mortal phenomenon earlier. It was not appropriate to go back now, and he might disturb the King of Rags. Do you want to stay here or go out with me? There are a lot of delicious food in the marketplace of the Northern Island. Lin didn't want to wait here foolishly. Anyway, he had some time, so it was good to take Languza for a stroll. Hearing there was delicious food, Lenguza immediately stood up, wiped his mouth, and said with a smile, "Boss, what are we waiting for? Let's go now, or we'll miss the promised visit time." Just as he expected, he smiled faintly. Languza's reaction was exactly as he had expected. After leaving Blue Cloud Pavilion, they went to the marketplace of the northern island for a stroll. Seeing that it was getting dark, they went directly to the sky-reaching pavilion. "Senior Brother Lin, the pavilion master has told me that if you come, please go directly to the pavilion master in the study." Seeing Lin, Yi, and Languza, the welcoming disciple of the sky-reaching pavilion immediately greeted them with a big smile, cupping his fists respectfully. Not to mention Lin Yi's prestige in the North Island. The fact that he was received in the study of Shanghai Tianhua was enough to make this disciple die of envy. In recent years, apart from Ramjia, Lin Yi seemed to be the only one among the younger generation. "Okay, thank you, junior brother." Lin Yi smiled, cupped his fists, and thanked him. Languza followed suit and followed Lin Yi inside. That disciple opened his mouth, wanting to say that Master Shangwan only wanted to see senior brother Lin, but then he remembered that he didn't say that he was going to see only one person. After a moment's hesitation, the two of them had already turned around the eaves and turned into the yard, so he decided not to open his mouth. If this disciple stopped Languza from entering, Lin Yi would naturally ask him to stay outside out of respect for Shanghai Tianhua. But since no one said that, he just followed. "Senior Shangwan, Lin Yi is here to see you." Lin Yi came to the study of Shanghai Tianhua, cupped his fists respectfully, and said loudly, "Come in." Chapter 6046. There are indeed a lot of things that I want to talk to Senior Shangwan about. Lin Yi pondered for a while. Originally, he wanted to talk about the matters in the ancient underworld, but after thinking about it, it seemed that what happened in the extreme North Island was more important. This time, there was a large-scale sea beast tide in the extreme North Island, and there were also spies working together from both inside and outside. They almost conquered the extreme North Island. I wonder if Senior Shangwan has heard about this? After the sea beast tide in the extreme North Island subsided, Lin Yi spent 2 to 3 days concocting the recovery pill. Therefore, it was normal for the extreme North Island to receive the news. Sure enough, Shanghai Tianhua nodded slightly, indicating that he had heard about it. "What is the specific situation? Can you tell me in detail?" Shanghai Tianhua didn't say how much he knew. Perhaps he wanted to verify what Lin Yi had said. After all, even if he received the news, he wouldn't know more than Lin Yi, who had personally participated in it. "No problem. I'll start from a transformed spirit beast." Lin Yi started from the time he found the wind tiger, then the tunnel leading to the beach, the chaos in the central area of the extreme North Island, the broken formation base, the loosened defense mechanism, the powerful sea beast tide, and so on. He briefly mentioned everything about himself. So that's how it is. So many things have happened in the Northern Islands, and they almost fell. In the end, even Senior Lin appeared. No wonder they received a distress signal, but it was cancelled. Shangwan Tianhua had a look of understanding on his face as he muttered softly to himself. "Senior Shangwan, did Senior Lin ask you for help?" Lin Yi was a little surprised. Was there some kind of agreement between the extreme North Island and the extreme North Island? But even if the extreme North Island sent reinforcements, they wouldn't be able to make it in time. You've met Senior Lin, so you should already know about the super families and the Guardian Convention. So, there's no problem telling you about it. Shanghai Tianhua nodded, then shook his head. "I wasn't the one who received the rescue signal. It was the ancestor of the Shangwan family." Lin Yi suddenly understood. This should be the agreement in the Guardian Convention. Okuda-ba had mentioned it to him before. If Li Lin was in danger, the other family's sea-splitting realm old monsters would naturally help. So, Shanghai Tianhua wasn't the most powerful person in the extreme North Island. Although Lin Yi couldn't see his strength, he shouldn't have reached the sea-splitting realm yet. Maybe he was close to Zhuang Yifan. As for the Shangwan family that he had never heard of before, he didn't find it strange at all. There were Shangwan families in the ancient Jianghu. It was normal for them to exist on Sky-class Island. The deputy dean of a college in the Mystic Steppe Sea area couldn't be compared to the Yellow Steppe Sea area. Although Zhuang Yifan was powerful in the Yellow Steppe Sea area, he might not be as popular as Zhang Jingmiao in the Mystic Steppe Sea area. You mean that the center has already attracted the attention of the Mystic Steppe Sea area in the East Continent? Lin, he found it hard to believe. If the people of the Mystic Steppe Sea area made a move, even if the center had already set up arrangements on the other islands, they probably wouldn't be able to resist. If the center was given a few more years to develop, the result would be hard to say. You can't say that. The Mystic Steppe Sea area doesn't care much about the other islands. Zhang Jingmiao only brought out her personal experience to discuss with me. She didn't pay too much attention to the center. However, after you brought news about the extreme North Island, things might be a little different. Shanghai Tianhua smiled and waved his hand. He then said, "Let's talk about this during dinner. Now let's talk about something else." Okay, I also want Senior Zhang Jingmiao to pay attention to the center. This organization is really troublesome. Lenny mentioned it briefly and then changed the topic. Senior Shangwan, I've never heard of the Shangwan family when I was in the North Island. So, the actual controller of the North Island is your family? The fleet will depart in a few months. If you don't, I can help to get some information on Shangwan. Guan I Don. Guan, Shangwan said. Guan I Guan Shangwan I. But before that, I need to go back to the Middle Island. It won't take long. Linny agreed without hesitation. Shanghai Tianhua had done him a favor. No matter what the request was, as long as it didn't violate his conscience, he would not refuse. What was more, even without Shanghai Tianhua's request, Lin he was ready to find time to go to the South Island. Apart from other things, the South Island plan of the center had always been like a fishbone in his throat. He couldn't rest assured until he solved it. Since Shanghai Laner's trip to the East Continent would take a few months, he had enough time to explore the South Island. Moreover, he would sail with Okuda Dam this time, which put Lin in a good mood. No problem. If you have something to do, just do it. If you can spare time to go to the South Island, you can. If you can't, it's okay. Shanghai Tianhuan nodded with a smile. He really wanted to ask Lin Yi for help, instead of ordering Lin Yi to do something. After a short pause, Shanghai Tianhua continued without waiting for Lin Yi to speak. Many places in the sea area near the South Continent are controlled by the Spirit Beast clan, and they collect high taxes. It's becoming more and more difficult for human cultivators to survive in that sea area. This is quite strange. Do you want me to investigate this matter? Lin, he looked a little serious. In fact, he was the first to know this news. A similar thing had happened when he went to the South Island. Now it seemed that the development was out of the control of the human clan. You can say that, but I don't need you to take risks. There are many experts in the Spirit Beast clan. Although your strength is good now, it's not enough in the South Island. In the past, as long as the human cultivators in the sea area of the South Continent didn't go to the Spirit Beast forest, they basically minded their own business with the Spirit Beast clan. This time, the Spirit Beast clan suddenly invaded the living space of the human cultivators on a large scale. There must be something strange about it. Shanghai Tianhua frowned slightly and didn't know how to explain it to Lenny. Do you want me to find out why the Spirit Beast clan suddenly left the Spirit Beast forest? Or do you suspect that someone cooperated with the Spirit Beast clan to occupy a large area of the human cultivator's territory so easily? Lin, he had kind of understood Shanghai Tianhua's meaning. Thinking of the center that had just been mentioned, Shanghai Tianhua was probably also suspecting that the center was behind the actions of the Spirit Beast clan. Yes, don't risk your life in the Spirit Beast forest. All you need to do is to gather information in the areas controlled by the Spirit Beast clan and find out who exactly is working with the Spirit Beast clan. I'm sure you already have some guesses in your mind, but I need more concrete evidence to prove it. Shanghai Tianhua looked quite serious. Lin guessed that this matter might have something to do with the center, so he didn't dare to neglect it. Understand, I will definitely handle this matter. If I don't have to go back to the Middle Island, I even want to set off to the South Island now. If it was really the center who was playing tricks behind the scenes, maybe this was the plan of the South Island. Or maybe it was just part of the plan. In any case, Lin, he had to get to the bottom of it as soon as possible. Not now. It's lunchtime soon. Let's go and have a simple meal first and get to know Deputy Dean Zhang Jingmiao. She's an expert. With her support, you can also do whatever you want in the East Continent in the future. Shanghai Tianhua was in a good mood and joked casually. Of course, he knew that even if Lin he wanted to do whatever he wanted, he always relied on his own strength instead of having someone to support him. Chapter 6048. Ha ha. Then let's go together. Shanghai Tianhua laughed as he stood up and walked out first. Lin he glared at Lang Guza. This guy really doesn't change. He doesn't forget to eat wherever he goes. It's really shameful. The three of them came to the Shangwan family's dining room unhurriedly. There were no round tables here. Instead, there were many small long tables. Each of them sat down and ate separately. Seeing this arrangement, Lin he suddenly felt relieved. If it was the kind of big round table where everyone was together, he was very worried that the dishes would be swept away by Languza as soon as they were served. If that happened, he really wouldn't have the face to visit the Shangwan family in the future. Shanghai Tianhua didn't know what Lin was thinking. He sat down on the main seat and waved his hand casually. You can sit anywhere you want. I don't have so many rules here. Although he said so, Lin didn't really dare to break the rules. The first seat on the left of the main seat must be reserved for Deputy Dean Zhang Jingmiao. If no one else came, then it shouldn't be a big problem to sit on the first seat on the right. If it wasn't in front of Shanghai Tianhua, Lin he wouldn't have so many scruples. Facing a respected elder would always be a little uncomfortable. Just as Lin he pulled Languza to the right and was about to sit down, he saw two beautiful women outside the door. One of them was Shangwan Laner, and the other was a middle-aged, beautiful woman. Although her appearance was not as good as Laner, she was graceful and elegant. At first glance, people would feel a sense of respect. She was definitely not a simple person. Needless to ask, this beautiful woman was the deputy dean of Feiyang College in the Xuanjiasi area, Zhang Jingmiao. Lin Yi, you're here. Why didn't anyone inform me? Shangwan Laner saw Lin Yi as soon as she came in. She was immediately overjoyed and ran over happily. However, the curly bear was one step ahead of her. When the little guy saw Lin Yi, he quickly climbed onto his shoulder and intimately rubbed his face with his head. However, when Languza approached, the coiled bear trembled all over. It probably felt the aura of the Shanghai flood dragon. It hurriedly waved its claws at Lin Yi, jumped to the ground, and immediately ran away. Even when Shanghai Laner called out to it, it didn't look back. Left with no choice, Lin he could only let it go. Unruly, Shanghai Tianhua's face turned serious as he berated loudly. Even though Shanghai Tianhua had always doted on Lan, Zhang Jingmiao was her master now. How could she so casually greet others before her master? At the very least, he should have reported it first. Senior brother Shangwan, Lan is innocent and naive. Don't make such a big fuss to scare her. Zhang Jingmiao smiled and waved her hand, pleading for Shanghai Laner. It seemed that she also liked this little girl very much. So, there's no teaching of spiritual sense attack or defense skills in the academy. Lin he was slightly disappointed in his heart. The use of spiritual sense that Zhang Jingmiao said was indeed the most superficial thing. It could be said that it was the foundation of the foundation, and it was of no use to him at all. Compared to the small, immemorial underworld, the heaven stage island's spiritual sense was really too inferior. If the small, immemorial underworld had the rich spiritual chi and perfect advancement resources like the Heaven Stage Island, the experts that came out of it would definitely be able to crush opponents of the same level in the Heaven Stage Island. There is no public teaching of spiritual sense skills, but there are some ancient books in the Academy's Sutra Pavilion. As long as you have enough academic credits, you can go to the Sutra Pavilion to exchange for what you want. Zhang Jingmiao saw that Lin Yi was very interested in spiritual sense skills and immediately threw out the Sutra Pavilion as a bargaining chip. Lin Yi showed enough interest as expected. How do I obtain academic credits? Apart from exchanging for things in the Sutra Pavilion, are there any other uses? Of course, academic credits are equivalent to the Academy's currency and can only be obtained by completing missions or performing well. As long as the Academy releases resources, you can exchange for them, including elixirs for cultivation, weapons, tools, cultivation techniques, and so on. You will understand these things when you arrive at the Eastern Continent, and I can't explain it clearly now. Zhang Jingmiao gave a brief introduction and waved her hand without saying anything else. Only by keeping Lin Yi in suspense would it make him want to join Feian College even more. However, considering that the King of Junk might have started to forge weapons and didn't want anyone to disturb him, Lin Yi gave up the idea. Boss, did you want to go somewhere just now? Li Jingming sensed Lin Yi's hesitation and asked in a low voice immediately. Oh, it's nothing. I was just about to go look for the Garbage King, but since I ran into you, I'll go back to Clear Cloud Pavilion first. Lin Yi smiled faintly. There was no need to hide anything from Li Jingming. The only thing he was worried about was whether the King of Junk would still have time to deal with Lin Yi after he started to forge the ghostly speed wings. This was also the reason why he wanted to take the item away as soon as possible. At least he could discuss with the King of Junk on how to use it. Boss, go ahead if you have something to do. My matter isn't urgent. We can talk about it after you're done. Why don't I go to Blue Cloud Pavilion first and wait for you? Although Li Zhengming was anxious, he couldn't let Lin Yi delay his business. Therefore, he let Lin Yi go first without hesitation. Lin Yi thought for a moment. With his speed, it wouldn't take long for him to go to the cave and return to Blue Cloud Pavilion. If Li Zhengming walked slower, they might arrive at the same time. In this way, it wouldn't be a problem for him to go to the casting pool first. All right, you go to Blue Cloud Pavilion first and wait for me. I'll be back soon. Languza, will you come with me or go back to Blue Cloud Pavilion first? Lin Yi decided to find the King of Junk first. After dealing with Li Jingming, he could fly to Middle Island directly so that he wouldn't affect the King of Junk's forging of the ghostly speed wings. It was a trump card related to Lin Yi's combat strength and life-saving ability in the future. He couldn't afford to be careless. Of course I'll follow you, boss. Brother Li Jingming, you go back first. There's nothing to eat in boss's place. Buy some food on the way. We'll have a good chat later. Languza acted like he was very familiar with Li Jingming. Lin Yi suspected that if he didn't finish all the food in that place in the afternoon, he would probably go back with Li Jingming. Li Jingming agreed. It wasn't a big deal to prepare some food. However, it was already so late. Could it be that Boss Lin Yi didn't stay for dinner when he went to visit Pavilion Master Shangguan? The three of them split up. Lin Yi led Languza forward quickly. Although he didn't use the lightning escape technique, his speed was still quite shocking. After a short while, they returned to the cave where the casting pool was. After entering the restriction, the King of Junk immediately noticed the arrival of Lin Yi and Languza. He immediately came out to greet them with a smile. Brother Lin, fortunately, I didn't fail you. Your mask has successfully fused with the flying saucer and the starry sky, flowing flame gold. Hurry up and take it. I'm going to start refining the ghostly speed wings. The King of Junk didn't wait for Lin Yi to speak and handed the worldly phenomenon and the flying saucer to Lin Yi. Both of these things had a faint flame burning on their surface. Moreover, they also had the same metallic luster. There was no doubt that the worldly phenomenon had not only fused with the Thousand Silk Mask, but also a small amount of the starry sky, flowing flame gold. Brother Wong, isn't the worldly phenomenon too eye-catching? Can this flame be eliminated? Lin, he was very satisfied with the flying saucer. After inspecting it, he put it into the jade pendant space. But why the hell was the worldly phenomenon on fire? Could even fool people. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.